Chapter 82. Blood was flowing on the red lacquer door, and the bodies on the ground were a ghastly sight. At this moment, it was as if the air had frozen. The entire Wang family trembled in fear. The people who came to ask the Wang family for help were all stunned. Someone dared to go against the Wang family, and even killed a member of the Wang family. What was going on? Wang Xintong's beautiful eyes almost popped out of their sockets. "You! How dare you kill a member of the Wang family in front of the Wang family? How dare you?" Jiang Xiu glanced at her with disdain. "Didn't the Wang family steal the Wanji Guangqing project and force me, Jiang Luoxia, to pay my respects to you? Today I'll pay my respects to the Wang family." After that, he strode toward the Wang family's door. "You want to enter the Wang family? Do you think you're worthy?" A figure rushed out from the courtyard like a cheetah. His body soared into the air like a ferocious tiger descending from the mountain. He threw a punch in the air. Bang! A shadow of a fist appeared on his fist. The energy burst out and broke the airflow around his fist inch by inch. A faint light flickered as if it could break gold and jade. It's Wang Xueli, the iron fist of the Wang family. He has reached the transcendent state in martial arts, and is only half a step away from becoming a demigod. He's a real demigod substitute. Someone recognized him on the spot. This kid is doomed. How dare he come to the Wang family to cause trouble and kill someone? He's courting death. Kill him. Wang Xintong's eyes were also filled with hatred. Whoosh! A white light burst out from Jiang Xiu's hand. It danced in the air like a long sword, bringing with it a waterfall. It directly slashed towards Wang Xueli, who was rushing towards the fierce tiger descending the mountain. Rip! The beam of light was invincible. Wherever it passed, everything was sliced in half. Wang Xueli watched in horror as his flesh was sliced like tofu. His entire body was sliced in half by the white light. The force that burst forth from the beam of light caused his corpse to explode in the air. Ah! Before he could even let out a scream, he had already been killed. The entire Wang family was dumbfounded. The transcendent grandmaster of the second generation of the Wang family couldn't even withstand one attack? What level had Jiang Luoxia reached? Was he at the peak of the transcendent state? Or was he a demigod? The Wang family is just a bunch of useless people. How dare you bully us? The expressions of the Wang family members changed drastically once more. How dare he kill the members of the Wang family again and again? Noisy! Jiang Xiu took another step forward. With a bang, the man was sent flying backward. A gust of violent qi gushed out from his back. His chest was twisted and sunken as he died in the air. Bang! The body fell to the ground with a heavy thud. Jiang Xiu took another step forward and waved a hand at the Wang family member who was rushing toward him. A white light flashed by, and the man's body fell forward. He fell to the ground and lay there motionless. A line of blood could be seen across his face. The fourth step was taken, and another man died on the spot. With every step Jiang Xiu took, he killed a person. In a blink, he had taken 18 steps and killed 18 members of the Wang family. There was no one left in front of him. He crossed the Wang family's gate and stepped into the Wang family's territory with his hands clasped behind his back. At this moment, everyone's face changed color and exclaimed in shock. Wang Xintong's face turned pale and her body trembled. Powerful, too powerful. Jiang Luoxia from Rivertown is so powerful. As far as the eye could see, wherever he passed, corpses would litter the ground and blood would flow like a river. The lives of more than a dozen people were cut away like grass. He was like a demon. Just like a demon. After stepping into the Wang family, he didn't stop walking. It was as if he was strolling in his own backyard. However, his murderous aura suppressed the entire Wang family's garden. The corpses on the ground seemed to be burying the entire Wang family. What can I do when I enter the Wang family's gate? Wang Xintong was dumbfounded. Her mouth was full of bitterness. She didn't expect the loser young man she met at the resort to be Jiang Luoxia from Rivertown. She also didn't expect this person to be so cruel and powerful. It was the first time she had seen someone so powerful. How dare you be so presumptuous in the Wang family? Following this voice, the elders in the Wang family's inner courtyard rushed over with a group of disciples. When they saw Jiang Xiu killing his way into the house, Whoosh 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 whoosh. Many figures rushed over. Some were tall, some were strong, some were young, and some were old. All of them were full of vigor. They were all top-notch masters. There were several grandmasters. The young ones were all at least internal force. Their aura was overwhelming. This is the power of the Wang family. No matter how strong Jiang Luoxia is, he's still alone. He's going to lose. The leading elder glanced at Jiang Xiao. He already knew what kind of person the young man in front of him was. Mr. Jiang, what a good Mr. Jiang. You killed more than 10 people from the Wang family, without any reason. Jiang Xiao said. Only the Wang family is allowed to rob my Wanji Guangqing, but I, Jiang Luoxia, am not allowed to kill your Wang family members. What kind of logic is this? The elder's eyes flashed fiercely. Jiang Luoxia, you didn't know the rules. You didn't come to the Wang family to pay your respects. Mr. Wang is only giving you a small punishment. Ha ha ha. Jiang Xiao laughed. Then I killed your Wang family members. That's also because your Wang family didn't know the rules. You didn't kneel and pay your respects to me. Presumptuous. How dare you humiliate the Wang family? Jiang Xiao's smile disappeared. A murderous look appeared on his face. In an instant, the world was filled with killing intent. Humiliate. You're too naive. The consequence of offending Jiang Luoxia is only humiliation. Kneel and submit. Maybe I'll take pity on you. You're courting death. A man from the Wang family behind the elder flew into a rage. The Wang family had been powerful for many years and had a very respected status. When Gu Shu took office, he didn't go to his office first. Instead, he went to the Wang family's dock to pay his respects. He didn't expect that a small boss from Rivertown would dare to be so presumptuous in the Wang family. Follow me and kill him. At the man's command, more than 10 people behind him attacked at the same time. There were a few grandmasters among them. The onlookers at the door sighed. The Wang family's foundation was too strong. Not to mention the rumors of a demigod suppressing the family. With these grandmasters around, no one dared to provoke them. Looking at the dozen people in the sky, Jiang Xiao stood still. It seemed like a moment had passed, but it also seemed like a century had passed. Then he slowly raised his eyes. His right hand turned into a sword and slashed in the air. A ray of sword light and a green lotus appeared. The world became pure and holy. A lotus leaf drifted with the wind. The lotus leaf emitted a bit of light and slowly floated past the charging crowd. Bang bang bang. The light was like an exploding bullet. Ah! A series of blood-curdling screams rang out continuously. Fresh blood spurted out from the bodies of more than 10 people. Some were split in half by the light. Some had their chests pierced by the light. And some had their throats slit. They died. The lotus leaf drifted with the wind and slowly faded until it disappeared without a trace. The crowd was dead silent. In just a moment, Jiang Luoxiao of Rivertown killed 13 people in a row. They didn't even have the ability to struggle or resist. No one was spared. Boundless pressure pressed down on their hearts. Life was so fragile in front of him. A top-level grandmaster or a demigod? At this moment, everyone was so shocked that they couldn't say a word. Panic hit them like a tidal wave. It's impossible. He's still so young. How can he be a demigod? Wang Xintong was completely dumbfounded. Does the Wang family's elder think that this sovereign's gift is good enough? Jiang Xiao stood there proudly. His murderous aura made it so that no one dared to force him. If you're satisfied, then accept it. If you're not, I'll give you more. The Wang family elder's face was ashen. The corner of his mouth twitched violently. He said, Mr. Jiang, you're too cruel. The Wang family only gave you a few billion yuan in worldly goods at most, but you killed nearly 30 people of the Wang family. The Wang family had been around for more than 200 years, but they had never met such a ruthless and domineering opponent. At this moment, there was only bitterness in their mouths. Jiang Xiao said, Who do you think I, Jiang Luoxia, am? Do you think I'm someone the Wang family can bully? Those who offend me, Jiang Luoxia, will regret it for the rest of their lives. At this moment, spiritual cultivation was the true master of Tianxing school, domineering beyond compare. The Wang family elder said with a gloomy face, What do you want? Jiang Xiao said, I don't want much. The Wang family will kneel down and give me 70% of your Wang family's property. Chapter 83. As soon as Jiang Xiu finished speaking, the people behind him almost exploded. The elder of the Wang family glared at him and said, "Why don't you ask for all the properties of the Wang family?" The family had been passed down for 200 years and stood tall in Jiangnan. It was a big family with a big business. They didn't care about money because they were never short of money. But if they didn't have money, how could this ancient family continue? It was simply asking for the lifeblood of the Wang family. Jiang Xiu's face turned cold. "So you don't want to give it to me?" The elder of the Wang family said. Mr. Zhang's cultivation is indeed awe-inspiring. The Wang family is willing to sit down and talk with Mr. Jiang. However, Mr. Zhang's request is too much. Jiang Xiu said lightly, "I'm not negotiating with you. I'm ordering you." The oppressive murderous aura swept over once again. An elder on the side sneered. "Arrogant. Third brother, why are you wasting time with him? He killed so many members of the Wang family. If he wants to talk, we can't just let him go. Boy, don't think that you have some cultivation. You are at most at the peak of transforming strength. If I'm not wrong, what you used just now should be the ancient sword technique," he said confidently. "Do you really think that the Wang family can't do anything to you? You're still too young." Although the Wang family passes down martial arts, our ancestor is a master of magic. He looked to be about 60 years old. He was dressed in a black robe and had an elegant temperament, which was very different from the other members of the Wang family. As soon as he said that, everyone understood who this person was. Wang Yidao of the Wang family. He was a top master hiding in a big family. His face turned serious. He suddenly pinched a spell, and a flame spurted out from his hand. The next moment it grew to the size of a basketball and burned fiercely, distorting the surrounding air. He stood proudly with the flame in his hand, like a god who controlled fire. Hua! The surrounding people were in an uproar. They had never seen such a method before. It was truly godly. Not to mention the people outside who asked the Wang family for help. Even the children of the Wang family had never seen it before. Wang Xintong covered her mouth and cried out involuntarily. She had finally seen a real great wizard. "Do you think the Wang family is a place where you can behave atrociously?" As the flames burned brightly, Wang Yidao's aura surged again and again. He took a step forward and the flames surged. With another step, the flames surged again. The flames soared a full meter into the sky. "Commoners, if you don't kneel now, when will you? Do you want to have a taste of my divine fire?" A cold light flashed in Jiang Xiu's eyes. Instead of advancing, he retreated. Step by step, a faint smile hung on his marble-like face. "You're courting death." Wang Yidao pinched a spell and pointed at Jiang Xiu. The flame strangely rushed toward Jiang Xiu. The flame seemed to stretch infinitely and suddenly turned into a long red flame dragon rushing out. This showed that his cultivation was profound. He should have reached the middle stage of foundation establishment. His cultivation was far above the young state preceptor and the others. No wonder the Wang family was so famous. The flame was hot and violent. Under this attack, the flesh and blood of human beings would probably be burned into ashes. As expected of the Wang family. It's really terrible. Whoever wanted to go against the Wang family would have to properly weigh their own weight. "Brother Condor, it's just a small trick." Jiang Xiu's eyes were filled with disdain. Under everyone's dumbfounded gazes, he casually made a grabbing motion, and the fire dragon-like scarlet flame suddenly entered his palm, turning into sparks and disappearing without a trace. Wang Yidao's flame could blow up a tree as thick as a person, and even a small hut in an instant. Such a power was really not weaker than throwing out a grenade, but it was broken by bare hands? He broke the spell with bare hands? Wang Yidao's eyes almost popped out, and he cried out involuntarily. How is it possible? This was the means of a demigod. In the books left by their ancestors, it was even said that there were not many demigods who could do this, and it was very difficult for them to do it. It was understated as if it was not an instinct. Only a real god could have such a means. The others were also shocked. This, however, that was not all. Jiang Xiu flipped his palm. and the flames in his palm suddenly surged out. It was as if the flames from before had all been sucked into his palm, and then released. Moreover, they were even more ferocious and intense. In the red flame, a fire dragon rushed out angrily. It danced in the air and swept toward Wang Yidao. Roar! It seemed to be accompanied by a terrible dragon roar. Ah! When Wang Yidao saw the fire dragon rushing toward him, he hurriedly stretched out his hand to block it. The flame was merciless and burned. His flame could blow up a small hut, but Jiang Xiu's flame was enough to blow up a big house. The power was beyond Wang Yidao's imagination. In an instant, his whole body was burned to ashes. The fire dragon rushed over without slowing down, only leaving a human-shaped shadow on the ground. Not even ashes were left. He was shocked. He was truly shocked. This kind of flame, the high temperature and the great power, was like a legend. Demigod? The mouth of the Wang family's elder trembled. He didn't know what kind of existence a demigod was, but the flame that Jiang Xiu used was not something that a human could do. The eyes of the people looking at the man in the field could no longer be calm. Jiang Luoxiao of Rivertown's supernatural power was up to this point. Jiang Xiu looked at the Wang family with interest and said, "How about this gift to pay respects to the doc?" The corners of the Wang family's elder's mouth twitched. His expression was uglier than a ghost's. "Didn't you force people to pay respects to the doc? Now you're here." However, this result was not something that an ordinary person could bear. "Mr. Jiang, please wait a moment. I will pass on this gift to my family head. As for the transfer of 70% of the Wang family's assets, there will be an answer." Jiang Xiu shook his head and said, "No, it's not 70%, it's 80%. Wow. In just a short while, it had increased by 10%. 10% of the Wang family's assets. How ruthless. Everyone in the Wang family was infuriated. He didn't say anything else. He knew that if he continued to talk nonsense, Jiang Xiu would increase it further. "Okay, just you wait." The Wang family's elder, Wang Xuesong, rushed to the inner courtyard of the Wang family. When the news reached the inner courtyard, there was an uproar. The family head, Wang Xuehai, immediately called for a meeting. 70%? He must be crazy for money. Who does he think he is? What else is there to say? Family head, gather all the powerhouses of the Wang family. We have so many sorcerers and great grandmasters. Are you afraid that we can't kill a mere Jiang Luoxia from River City? Some were in favor of war, while others were in favor of peace. The problem now is that Jiang Luoxia might be a demigod. Is the Wang family going to make an enemy out of a demigod? He just wants money. We'll give it to him. Another hot-tempered elder said. Is it a matter of money now? It's a matter of the Wang family's reputation. He's riding on our heads. How can the Wang family maintain its dignity? Let's not talk about other things. He killed Wang Yidao's elder brother. If the Wang family tolerates this, no one will dare to take the Wang family of Jiangnan seriously in the future. An elder sitting at the head of the table said, "All right, everyone, be quiet. Everything will be decided by the old lady and the family head." Everyone's attention was focused on the old lady and Wang Xuehai. Wang Xuehai was the family head, but he had an old mother. The old lady had a head full of white hair. She was probably over 100 years old, but she was still in high spirits. She stood up and walked back and forth in the hall. She didn't even need anyone to help her walk. She muttered, "I've seen a demigod before. He's really extraordinary and not someone humans can fight against. He can move freely and there's no way to surround him. But you said that he's only a young man in his 20s. He can't be a demigod at such a young age. But he killed more than 30 members of the Wang family, including 7 grandmasters. Even Wang Yidao was killed. Now, regardless of whether he's a demigod or not, the door of the tide-watering god of the Wang family must be opened for him. Pass down my order. Open the door. Welcome the guest." All the elders present were shocked. The door of the tide-watering god hadn't been opened even when Gu Shu came. It had been more than 60 years since it was opened. Today, it was opened for a brat who was still wet behind the ears. Bang! The glass and wood chips in the hall all exploded. Everyone in the hall was shocked. A disciple ran in. "Oh no, Jiang Luoxia is here." Chapter 84. A thunderous voice sounded. Jiang Luoxiao of Jiang City has come to the Wang family of Jiangnan to pay a visit to the head of the Wang family, Wang Xuehai. With this voice, Jiang Xiu had already stepped through the door of the so-called God's Aid of the Wang family, and walked in at a leisurely pace. Seeing Jiang Xiu barge in directly, the members of the Wang family all looked over in shock. They saw a tall young man who looked about 20 years old, with glittering golden talismans on his hands, looking mysterious and unpredictable. Suddenly, the talismans gathered together, and as his fingers opened, a violent force surged out like a wave. The disciples who were still blocking outside the house were sent flying in the air. "How dare you!" The elders of the Wang family in the hall all rushed forward, while the sorcerers behind them gathered their mana, intending to cast spells to put pressure on him. Break. None of the people who stood in front of Jiang Xiu could stand. The violent airflow rushed straight into the house, shaking the entire antique attic and almost collapsing. What a strong force! Wang Xuehai's long robe was blown up by the strong wind. His feet were rooted to the ground like nails, and he clasped his hands and said, "Mr. Jiang, we are honored by your presence. I apologize for not coming out to meet you." Jiang Xiu looked at him with interest. "I heard that all the leaders of the Jiangnan province will come to visit the Wang family of Jiangnan. I also followed the rules." Wang Xuehai's face was livid. "Mr. Jiang, I apologize for my rudeness." His words were meant to be an apology, but it was very implicit. If they had known that Jiang Xiu was so powerful, the Wang family would never have stirred up this hornet's nest. But it was too late to say anything now. "Xuesong, go and bring me the property rights of Wanzhiguang City." Wang Xuesong responded and went to the table to get it. "Master." Wang Xuehai took it in his hand and walked slowly to Jiang Xiu. He said, "Mr. Jiang, Wanzhiguang City is returned to you in good condition." His expression was ugly, but he still squeezed out a smile. "I've heard a lot about Mr. Jiang, but I couldn't wait any longer, so I played a little joke on Mr. Jiang. I didn't expect it to cause such a big mess." Jiang Xiu said, "Are you kidding?" Wang Xuehai said, "Of course." On the surface, he appeared calm and collected, but in his heart, he was burning with rage. He had slaughtered more than 30 members of the Wang family, including one of their elders. This was a blood feud, and Wang Xuehai wanted nothing more than to cut him into pieces. However, his mother's words just now pointed at Wang Xuehai. He didn't know how strong Jiang Luoxia was, but the Wang family shouldn't be rash. He had to be patient and make concessions to make peace with Jiang Xiu. However, Wang Xuehai didn't agree with his mother's conservatism. Let's not talk about whether Jiang Luoxia was a demigod or not. Even if he was a demigod, so what? Was there no demigod in the Wang family? Moreover, Jiang Luoxia was so young. Even if he was a demigod, he was a new one. How could he compare with the ancestor of the Wang family, who had cultivated for hundreds of years? Unexpectedly, Jiang Xiu didn't reach out to take over the property rights of Wanzhiguang City. He said jokingly, "I killed more than 30 members of your Wang family. Is that a joke?" Spiritual cultivation was a slap in the face. Wang Xuehai's expression suddenly froze. It was extremely ugly. The elders of the Wang family on the side were filled with righteous indignation. They couldn't wait to fight with Jiang Xiu. Wang Xuehai gritted his teeth and said, "Of course. Since everything started because of a joke, no wonder Mr. Jiang." He secretly swore that as long as he figured out Jiang Luoxia's strength, he would definitely make him regret being born into this world. Unexpectedly, Jiang Xiu's expression turned cold. "Mr. Wang, you took it as a joke. However, I never joke with people, especially those who try to control me. I will definitely make them regret it for the rest of their lives." Wang Xuehai's expression completely changed. "What do you mean?" Jiang Xiu said. "Do you think I'm so easy to get rid of? Do you think I'll let this matter go with a joke?" "What do you want?" Jiang Xiu said. "Didn't that person report to you just now? I want 80% of your Wang family's assets." 80%? The muscles on Wang Xuehai's face fiercely twitched. At this moment, his patience had already reached its limit. "Mr. Jiang, do you really think that my Wang family is easy to bully?" Jiang Xiu said. "Then Mr. Wang, do you think I'm easy to bully?" And if my Wang family doesn't give it to you? A cold light flashed in Jiang Xiu's eyes. He suddenly swung his right hand, and a sharp aura surged out. With a bang, a member of the Wang family who was standing not too far away didn't even have time to scream before he shockingly discovered that his upper body was separated from his lower body at the waist. He had been cut in half by Jiang Xiu's aura. If you don't give it to me, I'll just stand here. I'll kill whoever comes. You. The elders present didn't see how the Wang family members died outside. Now that they saw it with their own eyes, they were truly heartbroken and furious. When had the Wang family, which had stood tall in Jiangnan for 200 years, ever suffered such humiliation and slaughter? They all wanted to rush up to Jiang Xiu and kill him. Ha ha ha. The laughter of an old man suddenly rang out. Mr. Jiang, you're a demigod. Why do you have to make things difficult for the younger generation? The one who spoke was the white-haired old lady. She took a step, and strangely crossed 4 or 5 meters. However, she was still as relaxed as ever. The 50-meter distance between her feet was just a snap of her fingers. Old lady. The Wang family members were filled with grief and anger. Even when the Wang family was first established, they had never encountered such a tragedy. Everyone hoped that the old lady would give the order to kill this bastard. When your Wang family sent me to pay respects to you, you didn't consider yourself a junior, Jiang Xiu said calmly. The old lady said in a low voice, my Wang family offended Mr. Jiang first. However, the Wang family has suffered so many casualties. Isn't that enough to appease your anger? Judging from Jiang Xiu's attack just now, the old lady was almost certain that Jiang Luoxia was a demigod without a doubt. His strength was definitely beyond the limits of mortals. Jiang Xiu said, I've said that anyone who offends me will regret it for the rest of their lives. The old lady sucked in a breath of cold air. Only when she faced Jiang Xiu directly did she realize how determined he was to kill. She nodded and said, the Wang family agrees to Mr. Jiang's conditions. Old lady! Old lady! Everyone in the Wang family, from Wang Xuehai to the elders, cried out involuntarily. Jiang Xiu had killed so many people in the Wang family. It could be said that the hatred was as deep as the sea. How could they compromise with him? The old lady waved her hand and said, I've already made up my mind. It's the Wang family's honor that Mr. Jiang is interested in the Wang family's business. Jiang Xiu was very surprised. But Mr. Jiang, the business won't be finished in a short time. Give me some time. It won't take too long. It'll be delivered to you by dinner tonight. Jiang Xiu took a deep look at old Madame Wang, nodded and said, yes. But I came to Hangqing alone. Why don't I invite the head of the Wang family to accompany me? Jiang Xiu was still a young divine cultivator with only 5 godly tattoos. The Wang family was rumored to have a demigod suppressing the family. He didn't know what level the so-called demigod had reached, so it was better to be careful. Xuehai, Mr. Jiang invites you to accompany him. Then you should accompany him. Although Wang Xuehai wasn't angry and wanted to drink Jiang Xiu's blood and eat Jiang Xiu's flesh, his mother's words were an imperial edict. He didn't dare to disobey. He immediately said, of course. I wonder where Mr. Jiang is going. Just then, Jiang Xiu's phone rang. He looked at the caller ID and saw that it was Tang Jinshan. He picked it up. Old man. Mr. Jiang, I heard that you went to Hangqing. Are you going to visit the Wang family? Tang Jinshan was extremely nervous at this moment. Cold sweat dripped down his forehead. Not long ago, Boss Zhong came to find him and told him about the situation. He said that Jiang Xiu was in Jiang City and seemed to be heading to the Wang family. Tang Jinshan also realized that something big was going to happen. The Wang family wasn't something a small place like Jiangqing could compare to. He immediately wanted to call to stop it. Yes. Hearing Jiang Xiu's words, Tang Jinshan almost fainted. It wasn't easy for the Tang family to rely on this mountain. He wanted to find someone for his descendants to rely on after he died, so he placed all his hopes on Jiang Xiu. He didn't expect. You can't do that. The Wang family is not a small family. Mr. Jiang, please listen to me. Don't be rash. Jiang Xiu glanced at the messy Wang family hall. It seemed that his words came too late. I had a good chat with Mr. Wang. Chapter 85. Have a good chat? That was unbelievable. The Wang family stole the Wanji Guangqing project and made Mr. Jiang lose face. Even if the Wang family returned the project to him, Mr. Jiang's reputation would be tarnished. How could he be happy? No matter what, it had nothing to do with having a good chat. Tang Jinshan thought that Jiang Xiu must have admitted defeat after going to the Wang family. However, Jiang Xiu was the leader of Jiangqing City and wanted to save face. That's good. Mr. Jiang, I'll be at Boss Zhong's resort hotel soon. Do you need me to pick you up? Jiang Xiu said, no need. The Wang family will accompany me. After hanging up the phone, Jiang Xiu said, looking at the long tide in the river pond, the waves hit the sky. It's truly a spectacular sight. Mr. Wang, why don't you accompany me to look at the tide? Wang Xuehai said, I'd be happy to. Please. The Wang family's inner courtyard was filled with members of the Wang family. However, there were many people outside the Wang family's door who came to ask for help from the Wang family. If Jiang Xiu swaggered out like that, the Wang family would lose face. The old lady said, I'm still some distance away from Guanjiang Tang. I have a helicopter at home. Would Mr. Jiang be interested in taking a helicopter? Jiang Xiu said, as the host. With Wang Xuehai in his hands, he wasn't worried that the Wang family would play any tricks on him. The Wang family was indeed a family with 200 years of history. The garden was even equipped with a helicopter shed. The old lady personally sent them off. The property will be delivered by dinner time. Mr. Jiang, you can enjoy the tide in peace. Take care. Wang Xintong was hiding outside. Her beautiful eyes were filled with shock as she watched Jiang Xiu and the head of the family board the helicopter. She was the one who brought Jiang Xiu here. She felt that she had harmed the Wang family and her dead brothers and sisters. He had killed so many people in the Wang family. Even if he died 10,000 times, it would not be enough for him. However, the old lady actually came out to see him off. What the hell is going on? Seeing the helicopter fly away, the elders of the Wang family became anxious. Old madam, why does our Wang family have to be so polite to him? Even if he's a demigod, our Wang family isn't afraid of him. The old lady's eyes revealed a fierce look as she said in a low voice, ignorant. How many demigods are there in China? The furious elders of the Wang family slowly calmed down upon hearing this. There are a total of 13 people on the demigod ranking in Hua Nation. Only 13. Do you know what that means? It means that this young man has the ability to be on the same level as these people. He has the ability to stand at the top of the pyramid in China. The Wang family finally realized what kind of person Jiang Luoxia was. Yes, our Wang family doesn't have to be afraid of him. However, do you want our ancestor, who is protecting us, to fight him to the death? A demigod guarded a family. If a demigod was defeated, the family would be destroyed. Jiang Xiu was not afraid of anything. Should the Wang family put their lives on the line? Still, someone said unwillingly, but do we really have to give him 80% of the family assets? Was there anything more humiliating than being killed and having their wealth stolen? Xuesong, the older you get, the more backward you become. The Wang family has so many assets that even our Wang family doesn't know how much we have, let alone Jiang Luoxia. Just give him a portion of the assets. Everyone looked at each other and understood what she meant. If the Wang family's assets were 100 billion and they claimed to have 10 billion, giving Jiang Xiu 8 billion would not affect the Wang family much. The only thing that would be embarrassing was their reputation. The old lady saw it clearly. No family could be prosperous forever. Things developed in a spiral. There would be highs and lows. Their goal was to be everlasting. Go and get ready. Make the assets look better. It would take about an hour to drive from the villa area to the Wang family. However, they would arrive in 5 to 6 minutes by helicopter. The resort was not high-end enough to have a helipad, but it was not difficult to find an open space for the helicopter to land. The helicopter flew over everyone's heads and headed to the tallest building. After some communication, it was allowed to land on the rooftop balcony of the building. Tang Jinshan, Boss Zhong, and the others were already waiting there. What a joke. Mr. Wang, the #1 in Jiangnan province, and Mr. Jiang, the number one in Jiangcheng, were here. They did not dare to neglect these two gentlemen. Mr. Wang, Tang Jinshan and Boss Zhong were very respectful. Tang Jinshan had seen Wang Shuahai before, but Boss Zhong had never seen him before. At this time, he was very frightened. Wang Shuahai's face was cold and he did not answer. His mood now was imaginable. He was not in the mood to deal with insignificant people like Tang Jinshan and Boss Zhong. Mr. Jiang, the best tide viewing villa is ready, Jiang Xiu asked. Where is it? Boss Zhong said. Of course it's the tide viewing pavilion. This villa was specially designed for tide viewing. It was the best villa in the resort. Jiang Xiu nodded slightly and said, You guys take Mr. Wang there first. I need to go back and get something. His belongings were still in that single room. Naturally, he had to go back and get them. It was just a small backpack with some clothes in it. Just as he was about to leave, there was a knock on the door. When he opened it, he saw Cheng Lingsu standing alone outside. She was about to speak when she saw Jiang Xiu holding something. She asked in surprise, Where are you going? Jiang Xiu said, I changed my room. Cheng Lingsu said in surprise, You changed your room too? Originally, Cheng Lingsu and the others were arranged to stay in the villa area, especially Yi Wenchen, who was arranged to stay in the most famous tide viewing pavilion. However, Brother Zhong changed their seats just now, saying that a big shot was coming. They really had no choice. Although they were also given a villa, the difference in their hearts still made them feel very uncomfortable. They changed from high to low. But could Jiang Xiu's room be worse? If it was worse, he would have to stay in the toilet. She asked in confusion. Where did you change to? Jiang Xiu said. I changed to a villa. Villa? Cheng Lingsu couldn't help but open her beautiful eyes. However, in the next moment, Cheng Lingsu's beautiful face was covered with a layer of cold air. Did Uncle Jiang and Auntie Jiang give you money? Why is your vanity so strong? We are staying in a villa. Do you want to stay in a villa too? Jiang Xiu said. You guys can stay in a villa, but I can't. Cheng Lingsu frowned and said, Don't you know your family's situation? You did get good results when you graduated from high school, so Uncle Jiang and Auntie Jiang should reward you. However, you used this money to stay in a villa just to compete with us? It wasn't easy for me to change my view of you, but you disappoint me too much. How did Uncle Jiang and Auntie Jiang raise a son like you? Next, when you go to university, Uncle Jiang and Auntie Jiang have to insist. You are going to squander their hard-earned money like this? Jiang Xiu frowned and said, You came here just to tell me this. Cheng Lingsu said, I can't be bothered to talk to you. I came here to tell you about us changing rooms, so that when the time comes, you won't knock on our original door like an idiot. Since that villa was given to an important person, it wouldn't be appropriate for Jiang Xiu to knock on the door. She specially ran over to inform him. That's it. After saying that, she turned around and left. Suddenly she stopped and said, This room is free, and it's not worse than your home or school. Don't waste that money. As a person, you have to know your limits. After saying that, she walked away with her long legs. Cheng Lingsu didn't know when she started to have a deeper prejudice against Jiang Xiu. It seemed that Jiang Xiu didn't do anything excessive, other than tricking her to wash his clothes once. But in the end, he also fulfilled his promise and signed the agreement to dissolve the marriage contract. But when she saw him, she always felt annoyed and couldn't calm down. He was clearly a poor boy, but he acted high and mighty, looking down on everything. It was as if there was nothing in this world that could catch his eye. It was very annoying. She thought that if she could make Jiang Xiu lower his head to her, maybe then Cheng Lingsu would feel that she could treat him better. Susu, what's wrong? Seeing Cheng Lingsu come back with a face full of anger, Ouyang Qian asked. Nothing. At this moment, all of them had ugly expressions on their faces, especially when Yi Wenchen was having lunch. The Zhong family treated him extremely courteously and gave him a lot of face. However, in just a short while, they actually chased him out of the villa that he had already stayed in. It was really embarrassing. At this time, his face was cold and he didn't say a word. He could lose face, but he definitely wouldn't allow himself to lose face in front of Cheng Lingsu. Motherf *Ker. What kind of important person is so awesome that he can force us out? Lin Shu cursed fiercely. Chapter 86. The people present were also very angry. If they had stayed in an ordinary room, it would have been fine. But if they had stayed in Tide Viewing Pavilion and then been kicked out, they would have lost a lot of face. They pushed their suitcases to another area. When they were about to check in, the receptionist at the reception desk received a call. After nodding repeatedly, she hung up the phone and said with the most apologetic smile, "I'm sorry, dear guests. There are also guests staying in Villa number 3. Please move to Villa number 4. What? It was not enough to be kicked out once. They had to be kicked out a second time. The group of people's faces became very ugly. Don't you know who I am? Yi Wenchen could not bear it anymore. He angrily asked the receptionist, "Don't you know that I'm Brother Zhong's guest? Brother Zhong asked us to come here." Seeing him angry, the receptionist said with grievance, "Brother Zhong called and said that someone was coming in Villa number 3. He asked you to go to Villa number 4. It was like eating a melon seed and eating an ugly bug. It was disgusting." Yi Wenchen's face turned red. He wanted to find a hole to hide in, and then never come out. It was too embarrassing. Some people present were also very embarrassed. "Young Master Yi, let's go to Villa number 4. Guests should follow the host's wishes, right?" Lin Shu said to give his brother a way out. "Yes, let's go." Since they were already here, they could not leave in anger. Not to mention that this would make things awkward. Even if they went out, they would not have a good place to go for a while. "Okay, then let's go to Villa number 4 first. Cheng Lingsu said. "Wait," Dandan went to the bathroom. "Let's wait for her." Before she finished speaking, Li Dan ran over and said, "I just saw Jiang Xiu go to Tide Viewing Pavilion. Is he going to look for us?" Yi Wenchen frowned. If Jiang Xiu went to Tide Viewing Pavilion to look for them, it would be another embarrassing thing. "Didn't you tell him that we changed rooms?" Cheng Lingsu said in surprise. "I told him." "There's no reason for him not to know." Yi Wenchen scolded. "This idiot. Don't worry about him. It's inconvenient to carry luggage. Let's go check in first. The river tide will come soon. It will be spectacular then." As they walked out, a group of people entered Villa District 3. "So it's him. No wonder." Lin Shu asked, "Who is it?" "Qing Shui Wenzwilin." Yi Wenchen called out, "Uncle Wen." Wenzwilin stopped and looked at the refined young man in front of him. For a moment he couldn't remember who he was, but he looked a little familiar. You should know him. "You are?" Yi Wenchen said. "Yi Wenchen, Deputy Mayor Ye's son." "Ah." Wenzwilin suddenly remembered and said very politely, "So it's Deputy City Mayor Ye's son. It's been a long time. Why, young Master Yi also came here to watch the tide." The students around Yi Wenchen were excited again. Young Master Yi was indeed young Master Yi. He was so awesome that he even knew Wenzwilin, and was so polite. "Who is it? Uncle Wen also came to watch the tide?" Today Mr. Jiang came to visit the Wang family. It was such a big event that several people in Jiangqing would definitely come. This was not only to give face to Mr. Jiang, but also to give face to the Wang family. Wenzwilin said, "I'm not as elegant as young Master Yi. There's a big event here today, so I hurried over." "Big event?" Wenzwilin said seriously. "Today, the tide in Jiangqing is rising. Mr. Jiang wants to visit Mr. Wang here." Wow. The surrounding students were in an uproar. They couldn't help but widen their eyes. Mr. Jiang was no stranger, and Mr. Wang was even more so. He was a big family that had stood tall in Jiangnan for more than 200 years. This is really a big event. Yi Wenchen's eyes showed a look of infatuation. Although he couldn't see such a big figure, he yearned to see it. The students around also became interested. "Can we go and take a look?" Wenzwilin pondered. It's not very convenient to see such a big event, but it shouldn't be a big problem if we just watch from afar. That's great. Thinking that they could not only see Mr. Jiang, but also Jiangnan's Mr. Wang, everyone present was very happy. Cheng Lingsu's little face also flushed with excitement. "Then let's go and check in first." This group of little fellows was overjoyed to have the opportunity to watch the Reverend Peer. The displeasure they felt just now quickly dissipated. After checking in, let's go to the tide viewing platform. Okay, thank you, Uncle One. Such a grand event could only be encountered by chance. According to Wan Zuolin, there would be a lot of people from Jiangcheng coming to support Mr. Jiang. They should try to get there as early as possible to get a good seat. Cheng Lingsu said. Help me check in. I have something to do. What's the matter? Ouyang Qian said. Don't tell me you're going to the tide viewing pavilion to find that idiot Jiang Xiao. It's none of our business if he embarrasses himself. Cheng Lingsu said. After all, I asked him to come. Well, we'll go with you. The boys go check in. Cheng Lingsu originally wanted to refuse, but since her best friend said so, she couldn't refuse. She had to let Ouyang Qian and Li Dan go to the tide viewing pavilion together. Ouyang Qian was still angry. She was kicked out before she could really live in a good place here. Isn't that Jiang Xiao? She saw a waiter accompanying Jiang Xiao to the entrance of the villa. Jiang. She was about to say something when the waiter opened the door of the villa. After giving the key to Jiang Xiao, he said politely, Sir, this is the tide viewing pavilion. If you need anything, we'll be on standby 24 hours a day. Jiang Xiao said, Okay, thank you. The waiter bowed slightly and left. What's going on? Why did Jiang Xiao go in? Seeing the waiter come over, Cheng Lingsu asked, Little brother, why did you let that person enter the tide viewing pavilion? The waiter smiled politely and said, That's a guest of the tide viewing pavilion. What? Cheng Lingsu and the other girls cried out in unison. Their eyes were full of disbelief. Little brother, you're mistaken. The waiter said, No. After saying that, he left. This guest was personally instructed by the big boss. He couldn't be careless. Naturally, he didn't dare to say anything. Is there a mistake? He kicked us out and then let him stay. Is there something wrong with Brother Zhong's head? Does he think that Jiang Xiao is more important than young Master Yi? Ouyang Qian was so angry that her chest violently heaved. Preposterous. Cheng Lingsu was also at a loss. Her delicate face was not locked tightly. She felt very strange in her heart. During lunch today, it was very strange. Zhong Likan's attitude towards Jiang Xiao was very thought-provoking. Now Jiang Xiao was living in the tide viewing pavilion. Let's go and ask. Cheng Lingsu felt that she had to figure out what this Jiang Xiao was doing. She took large strides and walked to the front of the villa. Her pace was so fast that Ouyang Qian and Li Dan couldn't keep up. She pressed the doorbell repeatedly. Jiang Xiao opened the door and saw her. His eyes flashed with a trace of surprise. He didn't know why she was here. You changed villas and moved here? Cheng Lingsu asked in a questioning tone. Jiang Xiao said, Yes. How do you explain this? Cheng Lingsu's pair of beautiful eyes stared at Jiang Xiao's face. It was as if Jiang Xiao had made a huge mistake. Your family is just an ordinary family. Your uncle and auntie are just running a fruit stall. Why would other people let you live in such a high-end villa? That's right. Ouyang Qian and Li Dan also rushed over. Did you use some kind of scheme in front of Brother Zhong? Otherwise, this tide viewing pavilion is clearly ours. Why would they let you have it? Hurry up and say it. Jiang Xiao's gaze landed on Cheng Lingsu's beautiful face. They are really too similar. Seeing this face, Jiang Xiao often recalled Cheng Lingren's every frown and every smile. However, he was clear that a younger sister was a younger sister, and an older sister was an older sister. He said jokingly, Why should I explain it to you? Who are you to me? Cheng Lingsu's expression was cold. She was so angry that her teeth chattered. You're playing dumb with me? Don't you know our relationship? As long as we don't cancel the engagement, I won't have a day of freedom. Are you going to say it or not? Jiang Xiao said. All right, I will satisfy you. Listen well. I am Jiang Luoxia of Jiang City, the Mr. Jiang that you all speak of. By Lang, I slapped Jiangnan's 4 great young masters. Tiandao Temple, I retreated from Lin Jinnan, defeated Fu Bo and killed Lin Jinbei. Wang family's courtyard, I slaughtered more than 30 people. I suppressed the heroes until they lowered their heads. His words were powerful and his aura became stronger and stronger. It was as if a god of war was soaring into the sky. Chapter 87. As Jiang Xiu spoke, Ouyang Qian and Li Dan were stunned at first, then they burst out laughing. Cheng Lingsu's face turned green. If those beautiful eyes could shoot out knives, they would definitely cut Jiang Xiu into pieces. Enough! Cheng Lingsu couldn't bear it anymore. She glared at Jiang Xiu and said, I know you have low self-esteem and want to catch up with us. But making up such a lie and bragging will only make us feel ridiculous. Is it because of the Tang family? Cheng Lingsu said. Don't be stupid, Jiang Xiu. The Tang family is not that simple. The more they invest in you, the more dangerous the things you have to do. There is no free lunch in the world. Looking at the angry Cheng Lingsu, Jiang Xiu shook his head and said, I have already said it. If you don't believe me, there is nothing I can do. Please leave. After saying that, he didn't wait for Cheng Lingsu to respond and closed the door. You dare to slam my door? Bastard. Cheng Lingsu kicked the iron door fiercely. She advised him with good intentions, but he didn't listen. In the past, Jiang Xiu listened to everything she said. When she said something to him, he would treat it as a gift. But now he treated her like this. Susu, this is really funny. This Jiang Xiu really knows how to brag. He actually said that he is Mr. Jiang. I am Mr. Ouyang. I am Mr. Li. In the afternoon, when the tide was high, Yi Wenchen, Cheng Lingsu and the others came to the tide viewing platform. When they arrived, they realized that the docking ceremony was even grander than they imagined. The real rulers of Jiang City were all here. Not only that, some of the local tyrants of Hang City were also here. Many famous big shots were gathered together. In the name of watching the magnificent waves of the river, they were here to pay respects to the first dock in Jiangnan. What an amazing display! The most amazing thing was that these big shots were now like small fries. They didn't even have the qualifications to sit. Yi Wenchen even looked at Zhong Likan. Even a big shot like Zhong Likan could only stand. Is this the influence of the Jiangnan Wang family and Mr. Jiang? Which one is Mr. Wang? Which one is Mr. Jiang? Someone pointed at Qian Xuehai, who was standing alone in the distance. The waves in front of him were about 5 to 6 meters high. Standing alone in front of such heavenly might, he naturally had the demeanor of a man with lofty aspirations. However, no one knew what Wang Xuehai was feeling at this moment. That is Mr. Wang. Ouyang Qian murmured softly. She only felt that Mr. Wang was majestic. She had heard from her family that the Wang family was a famous family in Jiangnan. It had been passed down for 200 years. Their words were more powerful than the provincial books in Jiangnan. If the Ouyang family could make friends with the Wang family, they would definitely soar into the sky. She vaguely remembered the yearning and admiration in her father's eyes. Today, this big shot was just a little bit away from him. So majestic. Li Dan couldn't help but say. At this moment, all the girls were infatuated. Even Cheng Lingsu was no exception. Her face was slightly red. Many people paid attention to the rich list on Forbes. However, Cheng Hanlin said that the real rich people were the big families. He thought that the real rich person in Jiangnan should be the head of the Wang family, Wang Xuehai. This is how a man should be. Yi Wenchen exclaimed. He finally saw the real power of a big shot. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The river waves kept hitting the rocks and rising into the sky. There was the smell of the river in the air. The main character was here, but Mr. Jiang, who came to visit the dock, was still nowhere to be seen. What's going on? Why isn't Mr. Jiang here yet? According to common sense, Mr. Jiang came to visit the dock as a subordinate. It was impolite to make Mr. Wang wait. It was even provocative. The few Qin family members present began to worry. Tang Jinshan said, Why isn't he here yet? What if he angers Mr. Wang? What should we do? Yeah. Boss Zhong also frowned. Today, this visit to the dock was placed in the tide-watching area, and was received by Mr. Wang in person. He was much more powerful than Lin Jinbei back then. This made everyone in Jiangnan City feel that it was important. Jiangnan City had produced a big shot. Mr. Wang thinks too highly of him. If Mr. Jiang doesn't show up for a long time, I'm afraid this good thing will turn into a bad thing. It could be imagined that if Mr. Wang got angry and left with a flick of his sleeves, the consequences would be unpredictable. Perhaps Mr. Jiang, who had just emerged, would disappear without a trace like fireworks. No one knew when Mr. Wang's patience would run out. Maybe it would be the next moment. Suddenly, the atmosphere became very tense. It was so quiet that you could hear a pin drop. Only the sound of the waves could be heard. At this moment, a voice was heard. The Wang family's old Madam Wang has arrived. Wow. There was an uproar. In Jiangnan, everyone knew Mr. Wang, but they also knew that the Wang family had an iron lady who meant what she said. She was Mr. Wang's old mother, old Madam Wang. A group of people clustered around the white-haired but energetic old Madam Wang. Old Madam Wang. Old Madam Wang. Regardless of whether they knew her or not, they had to greet her when they saw her. Old Madam Wang also had a smile on her face. She had the kindness of an elder, but she didn't lose her dignity. Mr. Jiang is too presumptuous. Even old Madam Wang is here. Why isn't he showing up? That's right. This Jiang guy doesn't know his place. On the other hand, Yi Wenchen and the others were very excited. We've really hit the jackpot today. Not only did we see Mr. Wang, but we're also lucky enough to see old Madam Wang. Tang Jinshan had never seen old Madam Wang before. Even he wasn't qualified to see her. Seeing old Madam Wang show up but not Jiang Xiu, he was so scared that his legs started to tremble. However, at this moment, Tang Wencheng walked out with a phone call and said to old Madam Wang, Mr. Jiang asked if you've brought everything. How dare you? Wei Dachong of Ningda was furious. He was one of the richest people in Ningda, and also someone who depended on the Wang family. Back then, he had spent a lot of effort to get into the Wang family. How could he allow others to disrespect him? Who does Jiang Luoxia think he is? How dare he question old Madam Wang? It's okay. Old Madam Wang waved her hand and said, Mr. Jiang deserves it, deserves it. Don't even mention asking me a question. I'm even willing to do things for him. Wow. Everyone was in an uproar. Old Madam Wang held Jiang Luoxiao in such high esteem, and even spoke with such respect. What was going on? Was Jiang Luoxia powerful or something? Young man, please tell Mr. Jiang that I've brought everything. As soon as she finished speaking, the sound of an airplane roaring could be heard from the villa behind them. It was a helicopter, slowly approaching. Tang Wencheng raised his voice and said, Mr. Jiang said, is the number correct? Old Madam Wang's expression changed slightly. Of course. Mr. Jiang said, if the number is correct, please take the things onto the helicopter. This time, old Madam Wang hesitated, but it was only for a moment. Shuahai. Only then did Wang Shuahai turn around. He frowned and suppressed his anger. Looking at the file bag handed to him, he felt as if his heart was being cut by a knife. 80% of the Wang family's assets were inside. How could they just give it away? Talk to Mr. Jiang nicely. Wang Shuahai gritted his teeth and took the file bag. Wang Shuahai, who was at the peak of transforming strength, easily climbed up the stairs from the helicopter. Tang Wencheng said, Mr. Jiang asked, how much is inside? Even though old Madam Wang had been on the battlefield for a long time, her face was a little pale at this moment. Fine sweat appeared on her forehead. She said, according to the agreement, 80% of the Wang family's assets is half. My Wang family's total assets are about 10 billion. This is 8 billion. My Wang family only keeps the Wang family's garden. Everyone realized that something was wrong. This was not Jiang Luoxia worshipping the Wang family, but more like the Wang family worshipping Jiang Luoxia. What's going on? Tang Jinshan and the others were also confused. Ah! A scream of horror came from the helicopter in midair. With a bang, the iron door of the cabin fell from the sky. Wang Shuahai's body was half suspended outside the cabin. Whoosh! Everyone cried out in alarm. Old Madam Wang's legs went weak, and she almost fell to the ground in fear. She shouted at the helicopter in midair. Mr. Jiang, let's talk things over. Don't kill my son. Half a figure poked out of the airport. His voice was as cold as ice in winter. I gave the Wang family a chance. You didn't know how to cherish it. Then don't blame me for being ruthless. Old Madam Wang was so scared that she screamed. No. Her knees went weak and she fell to her knees. I was ignorant. I'll send someone to do it immediately. I won't dare to give you a cent less. It's too late. Jiang Xiu's voice was cold and emotionless. Old Madame Wang was shocked and angry. He didn't give her any room to bargain. She roared, Jiang Luoxia, do you really want to offend the Wang family? If you dare touch a hair on my son, the Wang family will never let you go. Is that so? With a sudden push of his hand, Wang Xuehai was pushed down from the sky. Ah! At this time, the helicopter had reached an astonishing height of 20 or 30 stories. Falling down bang. Even a martial artist at the peak of transforming strength was smashed into a pile of mud. Chapter 88. No one dared to save him. At this time, the helicopter was about 20 to 30 stories high, which was 50 to 60 meters high. If they reached out to save him, they would be crushed into meat paste together with him. Moreover, they were quite far away and no one could make it in time. Wang Xuehai screamed in horror as he fell. Old Madame Wang was so scared that she screamed crazily, "No!" Everyone on the scene was dumbstruck by the sight. Oh my God! Looking at the person falling from the sky, they couldn't believe it was real. The person who was pushed off the helicopter by Jiang Luoxia was the head of the Wang family in Jiangnan. Wang Xuehai, Mr. Wang. He was the #1 person who had stood at the peak of Jiangnan for decades. Tang Jinshan, Boss Zhong, Wen Zuolin, and the other tycoons of Jiangnan City stared with their eyes wide open. At this moment, their minds were completely blank. The visual impact was too strong. With a bang, Wang Xuehai fell to the ground. Like a watermelon falling from a high altitude, he smashed into a pile of meat paste. My son. The scene was eerily silent. At this moment, it was as if everything had stopped. Only the propellers in the sky were spinning. The devil-like man stood at the entrance of the airport. His hair was blown by the wind, and his eyes were as dark as the abyss. Jiang Luoxia, you dare to kill my son? Old Madame Wang was trembling all over. She roared at Jiang Xiu in the helicopter angrily. Jiang Xiu said, I've already killed him. What's there to be afraid of? So what if I killed him? I'm looking forward to the Wang family not letting me go. As he spoke, he signaled for the helicopter to land. The helicopter landed in the open space outside the crowd. Mr. Jiang. Mr. Jiang. The crowd parted like a tide. The scene just now was pressing on their hearts. Their breaths were heavy, and fear swept through their bodies. They couldn't help but call out his name softly. In the crowd, Ouyang Qian and Li Dan had never seen such a scene. Their pretty faces were pale, and their hearts couldn't take it anymore. They were afraid and curious about Mr. Jiang. They widened their eyes and saw Jiang Xiu walking over. What is he doing? Is he crazy? He's called Mr. Jiang. Does he think he's calling him just because his surname is Jiang? Yi Wenchun, Lin Shu, and the others were also dumbfounded. What is that idiot doing? Didn't he know what kind of occasion this was? Even Mr. Wang had been killed. Jiangnan was going to be turned upside down. Did they not want to live anymore? Jiang Xiu. Cheng Lingsu's beautiful eyes widened. She really wanted to stop Jiang Xiu, but she didn't dare. She didn't dare to make a sound in front of someone like Mr. Jiang. He was very conflicted. You just bragged that you're Mr. Jiang, and now you're trying to attract my attention? He was really crazy. She knew that Jiang Xiu liked her very much since they were young, but she didn't expect him to love her so deeply. Jiang Xiu walked forward unhurriedly. Mr. Jiang. Mr. Jiang. At this time, everyone was waiting for Mr. Jiang to arrive. The crowd kept moving aside. Lin Shu said, Young Master Yi, is this guy crazy? Is he looking for death? How dare he act recklessly in this kind of occasion? Yi Wenchun said, he deserves to die. He had long wanted Jiang Xiu to die. Mr. Jiang. Wen Zuolin saw Jiang Xiu and called out respectfully. Yi Wenchun and the others were stunned. Mr. Jiang. Zhong Likan also called out respectfully. The rich people of Jiangcheng along the way all called out. Yi Wenchun was stunned. He was completely stunned and didn't know what to do. He looked at Tang Jinshan with a glimmer of hope. He also called out respectfully, Mr. Jiang. Under countless respectful gazes, Jiang Xiu finally passed through the crowd and arrived at the center of the venue. Cheng Lingsu was stunned. At this moment, it was as if a bomb had exploded in her head. Her mind went blank, and she turned a deaf ear to the respectful greetings of Mr. Jiang. She only watched as the young man walked through the crowd of Jiangnan's rich people like a demon god. Jiang Xiu is Mr. Jiang? When she was standing on the plane just now, she felt that he looked a little familiar. He kept calling me Mr. Jiang. Jiang Xiu was usually so arrogant that he didn't care about anything. He kept calling me Mr. Jiang, as if he was the king of the world. Who else could it be but him? God, you must be playing with me, Cheng Lingsu. This was the biggest joke in life. Jiang Xiu is Mr. Jiang. Yuan Chenlin Shu, Ouyang Qian Li Dan, and the others were completely stunned. They didn't even realize that they were bumped into. Their hearts were cold and their legs were weak. How can Jiang Xiu be Mr. Jiang? How could the man who set up the fruit stall be Mr. Jiang, the most powerful man in Jiangnan who dared to kill the head of the Wang family, which had been passed down for 200 years? Shock, fear, and trembling. They thought of their daily sarcasm toward Jiang Xiu and the scene where Jiang Xiu pushed Wang Xuehai, the head of the Wang family, the most powerful family in Jiangnan, off the plane. His face was completely pale, and his legs were trembling uncontrollably. They weren't the only ones who were shocked. They were shocked by Jiang Xiu's identity. Everyone present was shocked by Mr. Jiang's killing of Wang Xuehai. This was really a big deal. It was too shocking. At this moment, everyone was at a loss. Tang Jinshan was having a hard time even standing. Tang Wenzong was supporting him. Tang Wenzong was also shocked. He didn't expect Jiang Xiu to kill Wang Xuehai. Wang Xuehai was the head of the Wang family in Jiangnan. Jiang Xiu glanced at them indifferently. I've said that I'll make those who offend me regret it forever. Hiss. Everyone present sucked in a breath of cold air when they heard this. Everyone finally understood. Jiang Xiu wasn't bowing to the Wang family. He was clearly taking revenge on the Wang family. Previously, there was news that the Wang family had embezzled the Wanji Guangqing project in order to force Mr. Jiang. The Wang family's move was considered overbearing. That was a huge project worth more than 2 billion yuan. Well, they had kicked a steel plate this time. They didn't expect Jiang Xiu to be even more ruthless than the Wang family. He demanded 8 billion yuan, which was 4 times the original amount, and still didn't give up. He even killed the head of the Wang family. This method was truly incomparably vicious. Mr. Jiang said that those who offended him would regret it forever. Indeed, the Wang family could accept any amount of money. However, the death of the head of the family, Wang Xuehai, and the pain of losing a son was not something that old Madame Wang could bear. The death of the head of the family was also not something that the Wang family could bear. It was not an exaggeration to say that they would regret it forever. Old Madame Wang said, Jiang, the Wang family will fight you to the death from now on. Jiang Xiu laughed loudly. Good, very good. I've been waiting for you to say this. Not only was there no fear in his words, but he was also very happy. I've heard that the Wang family in Jiangnan has a demigod suppressing the family and ensuring the prosperity of the Wang family for 200 years. I'm looking forward to it. Although he owns 70% of the Wanji Guangqing project, don't forget that this 70% belonged to Jiang Xiu. The Wang family taking over Wanji Guangqing was equivalent to taking everything that belonged to Jiang Xiu. From the beginning, he didn't just want 70% or 80% of the Wang family. He wanted the Wang family to have nothing, including that demigod. Old Madame Wang said, All right, Jiang, do you see that tide? My ancestor is in the tide. You can go there. Otherwise, you won't even be able to see my ancestor. You, Jiang Luoxia, will commit suicide for the crime of blasphemy. Tang Jinshan was so terrified because there was a demigod in the Wang clan. He had seen Jiang Xiu's strength, and he should have no problem dealing with those below the demigod realm. However, he did not think that Jiang Xiu could be a demigod. That was an extremely mysterious realm. They had only heard of it, but had never seen it. Hence, he did not think that Jiang Xiu could be a demigod. However, now that he heard Jiang Xiu's tone of wanting to challenge a demigod, could it be that he was also a demigod? What did old Madame Wang say? The demigod of the Wang family is in the tide of money? Are you kidding me? Everyone present felt like they were listening to a myth. How could a human exist in such a tide? Even the strongest expert in the water couldn't survive for more than half an hour, let alone in such a tide. Perhaps only a demigod who had transcended the mortal body could do that. It was said that demigods could control their own bodies at will. Jiang Xiu was slightly moved. Oh, he's in the tide? Interesting, interesting. Insolent. Old Madame Wang was so angry that she laughed. Jiang, don't talk nonsense here. Although your cultivation has reached the realm of oneness of heaven and man, it doesn't mean that you have transcended to become a demigod. Today, you will die here for this old woman. Chapter 89. If he was a god cultivator at his peak, he could even stop the Doro Sea with a single command, let alone the Qian River and Jiangchao. But now he only had 5 divine marks. His godly power was insufficient. If he forcefully stopped the tide, he would only tire himself to death like a calf pulling a cart. Jiang Xiu ordered, "Prepare a few things for me. Paper, candles, and a long sword." There were many people who wanted to work for Mr. Jiang, but there were even more who didn't dare to work for Mr. Jiang. Between Jiang Luoxia and the Wang family, one of them would definitely be defeated today. If they bet on the right thing, they would naturally skyrocket. However, if they bet on the wrong thing, they would also be consigned to eternal damnation. Those who were more conservative would just stand there and watch the show. "I'll go right now," Tang Wenchong replied and hurriedly went to prepare. His Tang family was already tied to Jiang Xiu. Just now he had even sent a message to Jiang Xiu. Then Wang Xuehai was killed. If Jiang Xiu lost, the Wang family's second target would probably be his Tang family. What is this for? Everyone present was very surprised. What was the use of having people prepare those things? Ridiculous. Some people were very disdainful. When Jiang Xiu pushed Wang Xuehai off the plane, forming an irreconcilable grudge with the Wang family, some people thought that Jiang Xiu was courting death. The Wang family had been passed down for 200 years. How could a small Jiang Luoxia from Jiangqing shake them? For so many years, how many people had wanted to overthrow the Wang clan? However, up until now no one had succeeded. The price they paid was bloody. In the eyes of most people, Jiang Xiu wasn't the first, and he definitely wouldn't be the last. Humph. Jiang Luoxia, don't even think about stalling for time. You can't even go into the water. How can you be my ancestor's opponent? You should just cut your own throat and avoid a horrible death. Old Madame Wang wanted to kill Jiang Xiu immediately to avenge her son and the Wang family. Jiang Xiu stood proudly on the observation platform. In front of him was the tide of the Qian River. The waves were about 5 to 6 meters high, making his body seem incomparably small. However, within that small body, there seemed to be a tremendous amount of power that could conquer the heavens, as if it could conquer everything. "Mr. Jiang, I found it." Jiang Xiu reached out and took it. Everyone was curious and craned their necks. They wanted to see how Jiang Xiu would get into the water. He took the paper and began to fold it. His fingers were slender and powerful. Under his control, the paper was flipped and folded very deftly and skillfully. It felt like he was a mage. It was said that the sorcerer's hands were very skillful and could communicate with paper. What is he folding? Not long after, a paper boat appeared in his hand. Paper boat. Jiang Xiu lit the candles and placed them on the paper boat. River lanterns? In many places in the Hua Nation, there was a tradition of releasing river lanterns during the Hungry Ghost Festival to express one's thoughts of the deceased. He's going to release river lanterns? Is he going to release river lanterns on the tide of the Qian River? Could it be that he was going to cast a spell to ask the god of the Qian River to calm the tide? Other than that, they could not think of a second possibility. But how? This was a river, not a river. Who would release river lanterns by the river? Moreover, the tide was high and the waves were about 5 to 6 meters high. How could he release river lanterns? What a load of crap. Jiang Xiu held the river lantern in front of him. His mouth was facing the candle, and his mouth kept opening and closing. He kept saying something, and the candle's light became strange. It was as if the surrounding scenery had darkened, leaving only the dim flickering candlelight. Why does it sound like he's making a wish? But in the next second everyone's heart skipped a beat, because Jiang Xiu's voice was getting louder and louder. It went from being inaudible to faintly discernible. Later on, the sound waves swept over, and they could not hear what Jiang Xiu was saying. It sounded like a very ancient language, vast and desolate, and finally, it became more and more urgent. The momentum instantly soared. Go. Jiang Xiu suddenly swung his hand that was holding the river lantern. The river lantern was flung out, and fell toward the waves of the Qian River in front. If he threw it out like that, the river lantern would be swept away by the waves. However, a scene that left everyone dumbfounded happened. The river lantern fell on the top of the waves, and was firmly controlled. Then it sank with the waves. Strangely, it was not overturned by the waves. When the waves rose again, the river lantern also rose with the momentum, and was not overturned. The broken boat was as if someone was rowing it, braving the wind and waves. What was even more strange was that the candle did not go out. Not only that, the candle flame did not sway at all. It was as if the wind had stopped blowing around it. Jiang Xiu suddenly shouted angrily and pointed his finger. His momentum was extremely shocking. The river lantern asks the water ghost. The river lantern drifted with the momentum, and continued to move forward. It went all the way to the depths of the Qian River. This is incredible. Such a thing that went against the laws of nature made everyone who saw it stupefied and exclaim in admiration. Jiang Luo of Jiangqing was indeed worthy of his reputation. His skill was amazing. How is this possible? Yi Wenchen, Cheng Lingsu, and the others were all stunned. Jiang Xiu actually had such a remarkable ability. Even old Madame Wang was extremely surprised. Even with her eyesight, she could not see what kind of magic Jiang Xiu was using. This was too shocking. Even so, what's the use? Clang. Jiang Xiu unsheathed his long sword. It was an ordinary long sword, but when Jiang Xiu pulled it out, it actually emitted a strong light. He raised his head and saw the surrounding storm and wolf howls sweeping towards him. He raised the long sword in his hand and chanted nonstop. The light on the sword burst out. The light was fluctuating and extended to more than 10 meters long. With a wave of the sleeve, the wind and clouds disappear. When the sword falls, the river will be broken. When the long sword slashed out, all space and time disappeared. It was as if there was only the sword light left in this world. It was a dazzling white sword light. The sword light slashed towards the Qian River fiercely and landed on the river water. In an instant, the river water was split into two from the middle. The vast storm swept towards both sides as if it carried the power of heaven and earth. It pushed the river water into the sky and turned into two torrents that poured towards both sides. How is this possible? Everyone's eyes almost popped out as they cried out involuntarily. This was the Qian River. When the tide hit, it could even break a bridge that was hundreds of meters long. However, it was split in half by Jiang Xiu's sword. The vast river water was actually split in half by Jiang Xiu. This completely subverted their imagination. It was simply unbelievable that he could shake the power of heaven and earth with his own strength. To do this, even if the current technology was piled up, even if the military transferred the latest weapons to bombard the river, it would still be impossible. What kind of ancient sword technique is this? Old Madame Wang's expression changed drastically. Ignorant, stupid. How could the ancient sword technique passed down by the ancestors on Earth be compared to the celestial sword technique? This was a celestial technique. Cheng Lingsu was dumbfounded. He actually had such ability. He was as strong as a god. However, they saw Jiang Xiu proudly walking towards the river tide. His feet stepped on the waves as if he was walking on flat ground. He walked forward in an orderly manner, and if there was a huge wave in front of him, he would slash it apart with his sword. What was even more shocking was that every time his sword landed, when the waves dispersed, they could see the river lanterns floating up and down with the waves. The river lanterns were leading the way for him. At this point, there was no longer any doubt in the crowd, let alone ridicule. They had been completely shocked. It was not until Jiang Xiu entered the depths of the Qian River and disappeared from everyone's sight that they heard rustling sounds. Didn't old Madame Wang mock Jiang Xiu for not even being able to go down the river? Mr. Zhang's strength was a slap in the face. Not only did he go down the river, but he did it in such a shocking way. Tang Jinshan, Tang Wenchong, and the other members of the Tang family were wild with confidence. Mr. Zhang's divine power, Mr. Zhang's divine power. The future of the Tang family was completely tied to Jiang Xiu. They were bound together for good or ill. In fact, it was quite difficult for Jiang Xiu to do this with his current cultivation level. It seemed domineering, but it actually contained an indescribable and shocking technique of controlling divine power to the peak. Only a person like spiritual cultivation, who had reached the peak of his strength and lost it, could have such a deep control of the Tao of water. Before they knew it, the sky had darkened. In the depths of the Qian River, Jiang Xiu could no longer be seen. However, the faint light from the candles still shone out. It was eerie and somewhat eerie. Old Madame Wang's gaze became serious. Jiang Xiu had entered the water. If the ancestor was in the water, then Jiang Xiu would definitely be able to find him. A battle between demigods was about to happen. Chapter 90. Jiang Xiu followed the river lantern all the way until it stopped above the waves, as if it had reached the shore. It bobbed up and down without moving half a step forward. He knew that there was a strange power beneath the water. It's right below. His body immediately sank as if it weighed thousands of tons. He sank straight to the bottom of the water at a speed comparable to falling from the sky. The depth of the Qian River exceeded Jiang Xiu's expectations. It was a full 50 to 60 meters deep. Even at his current speed, he felt that it was quite a while before he landed on the bottom of the river. His pupils had already melted and turned pitch black. His gaze swept over everything at the bottom of the river. People might not change much if they stayed underwater for a year, or even 10 years. But what if they stayed underwater for 50 or even 100 years? The evolution of species was the best explanation for why the ancestors of the Wang family practiced underwater. Constant changes to the living environment would inevitably lead to mutations. Although it couldn't be said to be the best way to practice underwater, Jiang Xiu couldn't deny that using a strange environment was the best way to cultivate on Earth, which was completely lacking in spiritual energy. But how was he progressing? The bottom of the river was incomparably quiet. In the distance, a pitch-black figure was lying on a rock covered in weeds. His entire body emitted a terrifying and mysterious aura. When Jiang Xiu got closer, he could see that the man's body was wrapped in chains as thick as an arm. Attached to the chains was a huge sword about half a meter wide and 1.8 meters tall. It was inserted diagonally into the mud. A friend from afar. He was extremely skinny, wearing a set of tattered and corroded clothes. His exposed chest revealed many ribs, and it could be said that he was emaciated. However, this body contained a tremendous amount of power. As he spoke, he slowly opened his eyes. His eyes erupted with an intense light that only subsided after a while. He should be in a deep sleep, or perhaps a fetus. Your Excellency, you must be looking for me. His tone was indifferent. You want to compete with me? Although he was at the bottom of the river, he had a clear view of everything that had happened on the shore. It wasn't difficult for him to find out what had happened on the tide viewing platform. However, Jiang Xiu shook his head and said, "It's not a battle of strength, but a battle of life and death." His eyes suddenly widened as he sized up Jiang Xiu once again. He was very arrogant and confident. He smiled faintly and said, "All right, I've stayed at the bottom of the river for 60 years. It just so happens that I'm a bit tired." As he spoke, he stood up. The chains on his body made clinking sounds. He was worried that he wouldn't be able to stay underwater, so he used shackles to trap himself underwater, forcing himself to stay there for 60 years. Today was the day he would break the seal. Unknowingly, his body had already floated up. The sword's handle was too high, so he had to float up to reach it. Suddenly, he pulled the sword out of the quagmire. Just from this move alone, one could tell that he had a great understanding of the Tao of water. While floating, he was even faster than a fish. Furthermore, he was able to pull out a giant sword that weighed several hundred kilograms without using any force. Clang! With a flip of his hand, he slashed the thick iron chain with the blade. Ding! The chain broke with a sound, and his entire body was freed from the shackles of the chain. "I won't take advantage of you." Let's fight on the shore. As he spoke, he had already dragged his long sword and rushed to the surface of the river from the bottom of the river. At this moment, it felt as if he was flying. His speed was astonishing. Humph. Jiang Xiu followed closely behind. His entire body was as fast as the wind. In the water, he didn't fall behind at all. What a joke. The person in front of him was the sect master of Tianxing School. How could an ordinary person compare to him with 3,000 years of cultivation experience? As soon as the patriarch of the Wang family rushed to the surface of the river, Jiang Xiu also rushed out. Look, they're coming out. Seeing the two figures rushing out from the water, there was an uproar on the tide-watching platform. Some people cried out in surprise, and their hearts stopped beating. The demigod of the Wang family had appeared. Ha ha ha. Seeing the light of day again, the patriarch of the Wang family laughed loudly. His whole body was like a bird flying in the air. Holding a long sword twice the size of his body, he glided on the surface of the river for more than 10 meters. It had been 60 years. The people of the Wang family present, including old Madame Wang, could no longer recognize him. However, they were certain that this old man was undoubtedly the patriarch of the Wang family. The descendants of the Wang family knelt down one after another. Your descendants are incompetent. Please bless us, patriarch. Please bless us, patriarch. The Wang family had suffered such a great humiliation today. If they didn't kill Jiang Luoxia, how could their anger be appeased? How could the 200-year-old Wang family establish itself in Jiangnan? Brat, you dare to offend the Wang family. Only death awaits you. It was as if he had a pair of wings on his back. The tips of his feet kept tapping on the surface of the river, like a dragonfly skimming the surface of the water. The stormy waves around him made him appear to be above the heavenly might of nature. Watch out for my sword. With a swing of his huge sword, a vast force was drawn by him, rolling up a huge wave. This was completely condensed by his cultivation. The soft river water was condensed like steel and shot toward Jiang Xiu. Just one drop was enough to pierce through a person. Boom! After Jiang Xiu rushed out of the water, he suddenly landed on the surface of the turbulent river. In an instant, the surface of the entire Qianjiang River trembled. The airwaves spread out and collided with the huge wave that was sweeping toward him. Bang! The two forces collided, creating a shocking water curtain that was 30 to 40 meters high. It was raging like a tsunami. Ha ha ha. The patriarch of the Wang family laughed again. Not bad, not bad. You didn't let me down. He stepped on the water again. His whole body was like a big bird. The huge sword in his hand had already slashed fiercely at the water curtain. A sharp sword aura came out of the sword and flashed through the water curtain. The second slash. This sword aura was originally formless and colorless. However, because of the falling rain, it was reflected and sputtered. Its shape was vaguely like a transparent sword body. The inner strength of martial cultivators was very rough. Even if one reached the transforming strength stage, it wouldn't change much. However, the sword aura of the patriarch of the Wang family was incomparably condensed. It was almost tangible. In fact, this level was not much different from divine power. It should have completed the transformation from inner strength. However, even if they were both divine power, there were differences in strength. Moreover, this strength hadn't reached the true level of divine power. This should be the so-called demigod realm. Before Jiang Xiu formed the first complete Protoss totem, he was a divine infant. It could be said that he was a demigod. The difference in strength between the two wasn't too big. The biggest difference was that Jiang Xiu had tens of millions of immortal martial arts divine abilities, and thousands of Taoist techniques. He also had 3,000 years of bloodshed in the immortal martial continent. The gap was so huge that it couldn't be described with words. Your cultivation is not bad. Jiang Xiu praised. It was indeed not bad to be able to cultivate to this level in a situation where the spiritual qi on earth had completely withered. However, Jiang Xiu took a step forward. The sword in his hand shone brightly. A slash of the sword was actually more than 10 meters long. It directly shattered the formless sword aura into nothingness. The expression of the patriarch of the Wang family changed. His sword could only be in 5 colors, but the sword aura of his opponent was so strong. The difference in the quality of their divine power was like the light of a firefly and the scorching sun. What ancient sword technique are you using? The sword aura didn't slow down and pierce through the water curtain. He suddenly retreated. The patriarch of the Wang family kept swinging the sword in his hand. The giant sword was swung by him and countless water droplets were knocked away. The sword aura collided with the pitch-black giant sword and directly sent him flying. What a pity, Jiang Xiu sighed. His divine power was too weak. What he used was the introductory sword technique of the Tianqing school. It was called the 13 sword techniques of heavenly conduct. It was the basic sword technique, and it was also the sword technique that Jiang Xiu had put the most effort into learning. When he first arrived at the Tianqing school, he had no roots and lacked resources. He didn't have the ability to change to a sword technique of a higher level. As a result, he had been practicing this set of sword techniques. Who knew that misfortune and fortune would come together? This actually helped him to lay a very solid foundation for his swordsmanship. It laid a solid foundation for his rapid progress in the future. After 3,000 years he used it again. Although it was still handy, its power was so weak that it couldn't even destroy an ordinary sword. It was really embarrassing. Haha, is this all you've got? The Wang clan's ancestor laughed loudly. Then he shook his head, as if what happened just now was just a false alarm. What a good ancient sword art. It has a bit of the elegance of an immortal sword. However, you shouldn't have fought with me on the water. This is my territory. Chapter 91. Strong winds swept across the Qian River, and the waves hit nothing. The ancestor of the Wang family said, I took nature as my teacher. I watched the tides of the Qian River for 100 years, and became a demigod. I was shackled and buried at the bottom of the Qian River for 60 years. You want to fight me here? He raised his hands high and stepped on the rolling waves. The giant sword danced wildly, and the rainwater in the sky was swept away by his sword qi, turning into countless water droplets. The sword qi covered a radius of 10 feet, and the water droplets also raged within the radius of 10 feet. His understanding of water was superb. He could borrow the power of the water at will, and live underwater for a long time. It was no exaggeration to say that he could be called a water god. Ha! With a roar, the ancestor of the Wang family propped up an invisible sphere that was 10 feet in size. The water droplets inside were raging, and the number of water droplets was in the hundreds of millions. With a sweep of the water droplets, the sword's speed was very slow, but after the giant sphere flew out, its speed suddenly flashed, and in the next moment, it was in front of Jiang Xiu. Good. Jiang Xiu laughed. Kid, don't be so arrogant. Let's see how you can take it. The power of the water ball was enough to destroy a building. Die. However, Jiang Xiu, who was far away, did not retreat. Instead, he moved forward in an instant. He chanted and his fingers met the water ball in the air. Immediately, he drew a talisman, and the light blue sand moved all the way down. After the talisman was drawn, the light sand suddenly flashed and sank into the water ball, disappearing without a trace. Break! A layer of invisible five-colored light film on the surface of the giant water ball exploded. Jiang Xiu had already rushed over with the long sword in his hand. Haha, you fell into my trap. The ancestor of the Wang family was overjoyed. He had already prepared for the water ball to be broken. If Jiang Xiu really broke the water ball, it would be his real doomsday. The hundreds of millions of water droplets in the water ball would burst out, and each water droplet could easily pierce through him. One could imagine the consequences. Break again. The hundreds of thousands of water droplets suspended in the sky seemed to have lost all their power. They turned from a solidified state into flowing liquid and flowed down. How is this possible? The Wang family's ancestor was shocked. Jiang Xiu's talisman was a water-freezing talisman, which could only disperse ordinary water magic. Although it wasn't very advanced, it was enough to deal with the Wang family's ancestor. In the next moment, Jiang Xiu was already in front of him. Show me what you've got. Jiang Xiu slashed his sword toward the Wang family's ancestor's chest, creating a streak of sword light. You can't do anything to me at this level. The expression of the ancestor of the Wang family couldn't help but turn serious. He had seen how young Jiang Xiu was, and thought that he might be a demigod. At most, he was only in the early stages of the demigod realm. How could Jiang Xiu compare to him, who had been a demigod for 60 years? But he hadn't expected Jiang Xiu to be so skilled. He had already cultivated this move to the point where he could destroy a stone house underwater, but Jiang Xiu had broken through it so easily. All right. After he roared, he didn't even try to dodge. He just stood there and let Jiang Xiu's long sword slash at his skinny chest with a clang. Ding. An extremely clear sound of collision rang out. His entire body was sent flying, but there was not a trace of injury on his chest. The sword in Jiang Xiu's hand was very rough. It hadn't even been sharpened. There were even cracks on the blade. This sword should have been hung on the wall as a decoration, but even so, it shouldn't be like this. At that moment, Jiang Xiu felt that his sword didn't strike a human body, but rather an iron plate. Are you surprised? The face of the ancestor of the Wang family was full of smiles. He seemed to be very proud of this, but his eyes gradually turned sharp. Didn't you want to see my true strength? Then open your eyes and take a good look. Crack, crack. The bone-chilling sound of twisting bones came from his body, and his stooped body swelled up as if it was filled with air. His skin cracked, and green scales could be vaguely seen. He screamed in pain. From the moment Jiang Xiu fought with the ancestor of the Wang family, the people on the tide-watching platform only had one feeling. These two people didn't seem to be human beings. They were Mr. Gods who could overturn rivers and seas. There were huge waves on the Qian River, and there was a rain of blood. Everyone was dazzled and fascinated. Who didn't want to fly? Who didn't want to be superior, like an immortal or a god? This was already shocking enough. But the ancestor of the Wang family actually started to transform. The scales on his body became more and more obvious. They looked like fish scales but also like beast armor. They were green with a hint of black. His eyes turned golden, and a row of sawteeth grew on his shoulders. He looked like a monster. Oh my god! The true strength of the ancestor of the Wang family was finally revealed. Everyone present was stunned. If they hadn't seen his appearance just now, they would have thought that he was some kind of monster. Old Madame Wang was very excited. It's done. The ancestor has done it. Hearing this, the people on the side gasped. Could it be? Jiang Xiu smiled coldly. Deification? In fact, Jiang Xiu was also in a deified state at this time. His eyes were pitch black, which was his trademark. Jiang Xiu's understanding of the Protoss was unmatched by anyone present. It could even be said that no one on this planet could match him. Staying in an environment where humans couldn't survive for a long time could stimulate a person's potential and awaken their Protoss bloodline. The ancestor of the Wang family walked this path. However, human bloodlines were too complicated. A mortal could hide thousands or even tens of thousands of Protoss bloodlines. Of course, these bloodlines had differences in strength. Therefore, the environment in which they were awakened was also very important. Unfortunately, the state of the ancestor of the Wang family, which was neither human nor monster, was an extremely low-grade Protoss bloodline. There were two characteristics to determine whether a Protoss bloodline was powerful or not. From appearance, there were two characteristics. One of them was the appearance. The purer the bloodline, the better. If it was neither fish nor fowl, it must be a low-grade bloodline. The other was the aura. The more ancient, the better. Appearance was more abstract. The most accurate way to tell was by looking at the godly patterns. Deification: the ancestor has deified. Old Lady Wang was so excited that she couldn't continue. No wonder Jiang Xiu's sword didn't hurt him at all. This was the huge difference between a deified and a normal demigod. Jiang Luoxia, you've lost. Ha ha ha. Old Lady Wang laughed until the end, but her face suddenly turned cold. She gritted her teeth and said, Xuehai, the ancestor will crush this person who killed you. He will pay for your life. The ancestor of the Wang family said, Are you surprised? Shocked? Scared? Do you want to know how I did it? Kneel down and acknowledge me as your master. I can teach you the method of deification. When the time comes, You may be like me and have the power and body that truly transcends mortals. With my current body condition, it won't be a problem for me to live for another 300 years. His words were full of temptation. Any martial arts practitioner who heard this would hurriedly kowtow. Ha ha ha. Jiang Xiu felt very awkward. The ancestor of the Wang family had the bloodline of a Protoss. In the immortal martial continent, he was called a servant race. He was only fit to be a servant, a coachman, or a miner. He was the lowest of the low. He didn't even have the chance to make a comeback and lived a lowly life. But now, the ancestor of the Wang family was so proud and arrogant. How could Jiang Xiu not feel awkward? But his smile gradually faded, and a cold light appeared in his eyes. Pitiful ant, worthless trash. You think you're so great? You're not even fit to carry my master's shoes. No one could insult Jiang Xiu's late master. In Jiang Xiu's eyes, if Jiang Yi and his wife gave him his life, then his master gave him a second life. You still want to be my master? You're courting death. Jiang Xiu took a step forward, and his sword shot out. It circled in the air, and with a whoosh, a beam of sword light shot towards the Wang family's ancestor. Don't waste your energy. You can't break through my defense. I can't kill you. A second beam of sword light shot out from the sword. A third beam of sword light. A fourth beam of sword light. A fifth beam of sword light. Countless beams of sword light shot out, forming a white waterfall in the air. It rushed through tens of meters of space, and shot towards the Wang family's ancestor. What? Facing thousands of beams of sword light, the Wang family's ancestor's expression froze. His cultivation instantly burst forth, and even his scales were about to stand up. Ding ding ding. The white waterfall of sword light collided with the Wang family's ancestor, and the sound of metal colliding rang out like a storm. At this moment, sword chi soared into the sky. At this moment, heaven and earth wailed. At this moment, nothing else could be seen between heaven and earth. Only the white waterfall of sword light was left, covering the sky and the earth. On the tide-watching platform, everyone's face turned pale. This was not just martial arts, but divine magic. It was a battle that they had never seen before. Die. The sword light pierced through the Wang family's ancestor's chest and came out from his back. The white waterfall pierced through his entire body. This sword can kill a true god. Why can't it kill you? Chapter 92. This was the first killer move that Jiang Xiu's master had passed down to him. It allowed him to fight above his level. He used this sword skill to kill the Wang family's ancestor to atone for his crime of blasphemy. Riding the sword into the sky and refining it into light was to refine the 1,000 flying swords. Immortal magic, immortal magic. Tang Zhenshan's tears flowed down his cheeks. Wencheng, did you see that? Did you see that? Mr. Jiang is so powerful, so powerful. Tang Wencheng was so excited that he couldn't control himself. He nodded his head furiously. Cheng Lingsu Yi Wenchen, and the others were so shocked that they couldn't speak. They could only stare at the scene that was like a painting. How can such a person exist in modern society? It's like watching a movie. All of this was happening in real life, and one of them was Jiang Xiu that they used to despise. Cheng Lingsu's beautiful eyes were full of confusion. He was such an existence. The moment she found out that Jiang Xiu was Jiang Luoxia, Cheng Lingsu's emotions were extremely complicated. She was shocked, confused, angry, and seeing his thousands of spells and godlike methods, it all turned into deep disbelief and regret. Okay, I'll fulfill your wish. Listen carefully. I'm Jiang Luoxi from Jiang City, the Mr. Jiang that you're talking about. In Bai Lai Deng, I slapped the 4 young masters. In the East Continent the Wang family's ancestor screamed in pain. The light rushed straight through his deified body and kept destroying his body. This is impossible. His face was twisted in pain, and his eyes were full of disbelief. I'm a deified. No one can kill me. He was a demigod who had dominated Jiangnan for 200 years. He had the heart of a hero and was arrogant. No, under the life and death bald head, he exerted all his strength and slashed the huge sword in his hand at the white sword light. With a clang, the huge sword that was just a little bit shaken by the sword light was cut in half on the spot. Half of the broken sword fell into the water with a splash, while the other half was shaken and flew out. After spinning twice in the air, it also fell into the water. Pooh! The Wang family ancestor suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. The deified image slowly faded away, and his body fell backward. The demigod of the Wang family was killed. Dead. The vassal of the Wang family said in a trembling voice. Wang Jianji is dead. When the light in the sky dissipated, the Wang family's great ancestor, who had returned to normal, had that long sword stuck in his heart. He suddenly rushed forward, grabbed the Wang family's great ancestor, and stepped on the surface of the water toward the tide viewing platform. Bang! He threw the Wang family's ancestor in front of old Madame Wang. What other tricks does the Wang family have? Use them as soon as possible. I'll wait and see. Old Madame Wang looked at the Wang family's great ancestor's corpse on the ground. It was beginning to shrivel and petrify. Her bloodshot eyes were about to fall out. Great ancestor, great ancestor. The demigod who had protected the Wang family for more than 200 years had fallen. Great ancestor. Old Madame Wang's knees went weak and she knelt down. The Wang family admits defeat. We admit defeat. Mr. Jiang, please show mercy and let the Wang family live. Everyone present looked at Jiang Xiu as if they were looking at a god, waiting for his judgment on the Wang family. Jiang Xiu said, transfer all the assets of the Wang family to my name. Thank you, Mr. Jiang. Thank you, Mr. Jiang. The Wang family felt as if they had been pardoned. At first, they were reluctant to only ask for 70%. Now the Wang family had to give up all their assets and be grateful. At this point, the legend of the Wang family that had been passed down for 200 years in Jiangnan had come to an end. The onlookers could not calm down for a long time. In Jiangnan, there were probably only a few people who could stand on equal footing with Jiang Luoxia. They believed that it would not be long before the news of the Wang family's demigod's death spread throughout Huan Nation, and even the entire Chinese world. It was shocking that such a demigod had been killed, and at the hands of a young man. This name would be deeply remembered in the martial arts circle in the future. Jiang Luoxia. Mr. Jiang, do you still want to watch the tide? Tang Jinshan was extremely excited at this moment. Watch. It would be a pity not to watch such a marvelous scene. Moreover, when Jiang Xiu went into the water, he found that the rock under Wang Jianji's body was a little strange. He wanted to go down. The tide phenomenon of the Qian River might have something to do with that rock. The banquet was soon served. It was originally a banquet to greet the dock, but now it had become a celebration for Jiang Xiu. Mr. Jiang. Mr. Jiang. The tycoons of Jiang City all went over to toast Jiang Xiu. They were very respectful and bowed to him. Outside the tide viewing platform, Cheng Lingsu's eyes turned red when she saw these big shots, whom she looked up to, acting like lowly servants in front of Jiang Xiu. She could no longer hold it in. 2 lines of tears fell from her eyes with endless regret. Jiang Xiu. How can he be Mr. Jiang? It doesn't make sense at all. Yi Wenchen and the others still couldn't understand how Jiang Xiu became Mr. Jiang. In other words, it wasn't that they couldn't understand, but they didn't want to believe it. They realized that they had missed an opportunity to make a meteoric rise, but no one was willing to say it out loud. Everyone had mocked and slandered Jiang Xiu before. Now, not to mention making a meteoric rise with Jiang Xiu's help. Jiang Xiu would be lucky if he didn't make trouble for them. Su, say something. Cheng Lingsu said, let's go. They didn't even have the right to get a seat. Those who could get a seat were all big shots. It was thanks to Wen Zuolin that they could come to the tide viewing platform. They had missed it. There was no medicine for regret in this world. Let's go. The group was in low spirits. F*CK, that brat Jiang Xiu actually managed to make a comeback. Although Lin Shu was scolding Jiang Xiu, he was terrified. He had seen Jiang Xiu's means. Even the Wang family was defeated by him. If Jiang Xiu wanted to deal with Lin Shu, he didn't even need to do anything. All he needed to do was to talk to Jiang Xiu. Didn't he see so many big shots in Rivertown bowing to him? The more he thought about it, the more scared he became. Not only him, but his companions were also pale. They were probably thinking the same thing. Their family's business was in Jiang City. Thinking that they might become poor people with nothing, they were terrified all day long. Are we still going out to play tomorrow? Why don't we go home? I want to go home too. Cheng Lingsu went back to her hotel room in a daze. She took out her phone and called her mother, Sun Xiaohong. Sun Xiaohong on the other end of the phone was very happy to receive a call from her younger daughter. Susu, is Hangzhou fun? Did you go to watch the tide? Cheng Lingsu had a lot to say to her mother. However, she couldn't say anything after dialing the phone. She just said, "It's fun. I went to watch it. It was very beautiful." Sun Xiaohong felt that her daughter was not in a good state. Susu, what's wrong? Why do I feel that you are a little unhappy? Is it because Jiang Xiao, that brat, annoyed you? It's all your father's fault. He insisted on being with you. I don't know what he was thinking. His family is so poor. We should have broken up with them long ago. He didn't think about it. Ability, character, background, which one can match up to our second Miss Cheng? Cheng Lingsu looked at the white sheets, but her eyes were unfocused. Don't talk about him. Susu, let me tell you a piece of good news. When your father came back from abroad, he happened to be on the same plane as Wang Xuetong of the Wang family. They had a good conversation. Don't you think it's a coincidence that he managed to get in touch with the Wang family? The Wang family. Do you know the Wang family? The Wang family of Hangzhou. You are just a child. You might not know, but the Wang family has been around for more than 200 years. Although they are not very famous in the business world, they are well known in Jiangnan's upper-class society. They are a real traditional wealthy family. Our family's business can go up another level. I really hope that one day, your father will become the richest man in Jiangcheng. Sun Xiaohong had fantasized countless times. When that time came, she would appear in upper-class banquets again. With that identity, she would be able to walk with the wind. What a joke. How could the wife of the richest man be the same? When that time comes, your father will be an idiot if he wants you to marry that fruit stall owner, Jiang Xiao. Cheng Lingsu said, Mom, I'm so tired. I want to go to bed early. Oh, then go to bed early. Be careful when you go out. After hanging up the phone, Cheng Lingsu walked to the window. The busiest place in the entire villa area was the observation deck. It was brightly lit, and her mind was filled with Jiang Xiao's figure. Jiang Xiao, Mr. Jiang. How can you be Mr. Jiang? With a bang, the glass on the table was smashed to the ground by her. Then she hugged her head and cried. Chapter 93. On the viewing platform, Jiang Xiao sat in the highest seat, accompanied by the big shots of Jiangcheng. Today, not only did they watch the rare river tide, but they also witnessed the battle between Mr. Jiang and the ancestor of the Wang family. It was truly an eye-opener. Mr. Jiang, the Wang family is here. Jiang Xiao replied, Let them come. After Jiang Xiao pardoned the Wang family, they didn't dare to be negligent. They immediately returned to the Wang family to organize their assets. This time, they didn't dare to hold back. If they played any tricks, their entire family might be wiped out. The leader was Wang Xueli, followed by a few members of the Wang family. Old Madam Wang didn't come with them. He said respectfully, Mr. Jiang, these are the assets of the Wang family. They're all here. A total of 113. 2 billion. Wow. Everyone who heard this was shocked. This was 2008, and anyone with a net worth of over 100 million was considered a tycoon. Anyone with a net worth of 2 or 3 billion was considered one of the top few in the city. Even the richest person in Jiangnan province did not have a net worth of over 20 billion. The Wang family was indeed a 200-year-old rich family. There was one good thing about being a martial arts family. They were different from ordinary families of officials and businessmen. They wouldn't take risks and do risky business. Therefore, their assets would continue to accumulate. Of course, this also had to do with the wealth left behind by the ancestors of the Wang family. Back then, the Wang family was a warlord with hundreds of thousands of troops. It was hard to imagine how much money they had collected. Wang Xueli trembled as he handed over the brocade box containing the assets information. Old Madam Wang wanted to deliver this personally, but she's not feeling well. She can only let me deliver it to Mr. Jiang. Old Madame Wang also said that she would move to the Wang family's old mansion and spend the rest of her life in darkness. Jiang Xiu nodded slightly. Old Madame Wang finally understood that the Wang family was finished. There was no point for her to continue controlling the Wang family. She does understand. Jiang Xiu's slender fingers fell on the brocade box from the Republic of China period. He gently moved it, his gaze sweeping over the Wang family members present, and asked, "Who usually manages the Wang family's business?" "Yes, I am." A middle-aged man in his 50s walked out. He was different from the rest of the Wang family. He was dressed in a suit and tie, looking like a rich man. He also looked very shrewd. "I am Wang Xuetong." As he spoke, he tried his best to make himself look calm. However, his face was pale and his body was trembling slightly. It could be seen that he was still very scared. Jiang Xiu asked, "In the future, what industry will make the most money?" Wang Xuetong blurted out almost immediately, "Real estate." The next 10 years would be the era of real estate and the internet. Especially in the next few years, real estate would take off. Jiang Xiu knew this because he had experienced it before. Wang Xuetong could see the future, which showed that he had a unique vision. "Then how is the Wang family's real estate business?" Wang Xuetong said with a somewhat embarrassed expression. "It's not involved." "Since you know, why don't you do it?" This, Wang Xuetong was arranged by his family to study abroad in his early years. When he returned, he found that he had no skills. Everything he did required the approval of the elders in the family. The elders, who were stubborn, followed the old ways. They either put their money in the bank to collect interest, or bought some good shops to rent out. Nowadays, there were very few commercial investments, let alone venture capital. This could not be blamed on the Wang family. The Wang family's money came too easily. People who asked them to do things often came in large amounts with just a word of mouth. The family had so much money that they could not spend it all. In addition, they were a family with a martial arts heritage, so they did not care about this at all. However, to Wang Xuetong, this was like a nightmare. He could not use his skills. There were even a few times when he wanted to go out and work for others. At least he could use his talents, but he was very depressed. "You don't practice martial arts very much?" Jiang Xiu found that Wang Xuetong did not even have internal force in his body. At his age, he was still in the Wang family's generation. It was hard to imagine that there was such a person in the Wang family. Replying to Mr. Jiang, "I have been in poor health since I was young. In addition, I am not interested in martial arts, so I did not learn much." In fact, this was not Wang Xuetong's true thoughts. He believed that the future world would be peaceful, and the importance of martial arts would decrease. No matter how good one was at martial arts, it would not be comparable to a pistol. On the contrary, he was more interested in business. Jiang Xiu pushed the brocade box and said, "In the future, you will have the final say in the Wang family." "What?" Wang Xuetong could not believe his ears. Jiang Xiu said, "You will be the head of the Wang family in the future. You can use the funds here as you wish. Do not let me down." The Wang family had already lost their backing. They could no longer rely on martial arts to establish their family. They were bound to change their style, so they had to rely on business talents. "Thank you, Mr. Jiang." "Thank you, Mr. Jiang." This was simply a gift from the heavens. The Wang family's crisis had helped him. An inconspicuous little shopkeeper, who did not even have the right to speak, had suddenly become the head of the Wang family. "Who is the girl behind you?" Jiang Xiu had already noticed that Wang Xintong was hiding behind Wang Xuetong. Her beautiful big eyes were filled with fear and hatred as she stole glances at him from time to time. She was the one who brought Jiang Xiu to the Wang family. She always felt guilty and felt that she had brought a wolf into the family. She especially came to help the family when the family was in trouble. "She is my daughter." Jiang Xiu glanced at Wang Xintong. "Didn't you say that I asked the Wang family to do something for me? Who is asking who now? You may leave." "We will take our leave now." The night gradually turned dark. After the banquet had ended, Jiang Xiu once again stood at the edge of the observation platform. The Qian River was pitch black under the night sky. Coupled with the silence of the night sky, it was somewhat scary. Nobody dared to enter the water at night, not even their own swimming pool. On one hand, the water was cold at night. On the other hand, they always felt that there was something in the water. This time, Jiang Xiu did not need to use the lantern to ask for directions. He still remembered that spot. Once again, he arrived at Wang Jianji's resting place in the water. Jiang Xiu found that rock. Due to the poor vision underwater, he did not see it clearly when he came down. Only now did he notice that this rock was only the tip of the iceberg. After walking over, he discovered that it was connected to a huge rock. Grass and moss grew all over the rock, and most of it was still buried under the river mud. It was like a tall building that fell into the Qian River and became a ruin. Furthermore, this rock was right at the bend of the Qian River. It was very easy for a torrent to form there. This rock had a shape. It was a little strange. It looked a little like a stone statue. Moreover, it looked a little like a kind of animal. This is, Jiang Xiu's eyes suddenly widened. River-swallowing toad? There were records of the river-swallowing toad in the immortal martial foreign demon records. The river-swallowing toad was as huge as a mountain. It was also very sleepy. Once it slept, it could sleep for decades or even centuries. The first thing it did when it woke up was to drink water. Once it drank, it would drink the entire river dry. Therefore, it was named the river-swallowing toad. How could there be a river-swallowing toad on Earth? At first, Jiang Xiu thought that it was a statue. Very quickly, he overturned this inference. First of all, who would carve such a huge statue? Could it be that they were worshipping Buddha? Secondly, after he touched it, especially at the edges and corners, he was very meticulous. Even the skin lines on it were vivid and lifelike. It was not something that could be done with a knife or an axe. Combining all these, he concluded that this was probably a fossil. This was the fossil of the river-swallowing toad. Legend has it that the river-swallowing toad is good at hiding treasures. I wonder if it has collected any treasures. Jiang Xiu tried to push the river-swallowing toad out of the river mud. However, the river-swallowing toad was too huge. No matter how hard Jiang Xiu tried, he could not move it at all. In the end, he was so tired that he could only pull out a little of the river-swallowing toad's face, revealing half of its mouth. The mouth of the river-swallowing toad was slightly open, and it was empty inside. This made him even more certain that this was a fossil and not a statue. No one would carve out the internal organs of a statue, nor did they have the skill to do so. If it is a fossil, I wonder if the Niden is still there? If he could pick up a Niden, that would be a small fortune. Immediately, Jiang Xiu entered the river-swallowing toad's abdomen. As soon as he entered the river-swallowing toad's abdomen, he saw a weak and gentle white light. Jiang Xiu was delighted. There was indeed a Niden. Wang Jianji chose this place as his cultivation location. It should be related to the existence of this Niden. Cultivating here would definitely make his progress more delightful. It was just that he did not know the reason. Jiang Xiu reached out and grabbed the Niden in his palm. Ha ha ha. With this Niden, Jiang Xiu could have a few more divine patterns on his arm. He could not wait to return to the hotel. When he pushed open the door and entered, he realized that there was someone in his room. Furthermore, it was Wang Xintong. Chapter 94. Wang Xintong was wearing a low-cut red dress. The dress was as red as fire, and she looked very passionate. Her black hair was scattered over her snow-white shoulders, and her chest was exposed. A diamond necklace was hanging in front of her chest, and it looked very luxurious on her snow-white skin. Last time, he felt that Wang Xintong had a good figure, but he didn't expect it to be so good. She was also holding a glass of red wine in her hand, gently swaying it. Under the night sky, under the light, everything became hazy. Mr. Jiang. At this time, her tone was not as cold as before. Instead, it was as gentle as a kitten. She looked delicate and easy to bully, but under this delicateness, there was a hint of charm. What business do you have with me? Wang Xintong said. I was afraid that you would be bored, so I came to accompany you. As she spoke, she casually picked up the wine glass that had already been poured from the bar, and walked towards Jiang Xiu step by step. Her eyes revealed a kind of blurred drunkenness. She handed the wine glass to Jiang Xiu. Drink some wine, take a shower, and sleep early. Jiang Xiu said. You're not afraid of me? Wang Xintong pretended to be very scared, and her eyes were shining. Of course I'm scared to death. I'm also scared that you'll eat me. Jiang Xiu's mouth slightly raised into a smile. He noticed that Wang Xintong's snow-white legs were trembling. That's good. He took the red wine and drank it in one gulp. The wine was very mellow, smooth, and delicate. He handed the empty glass back to Wang Xintong and walked into the room. He said casually, I'll take a shower first. Wang Xintong said, Hurry up, don't make me wait too long. The Wang family was full of old-fashioned people, and the rules were very strict. Before this, let alone a boyfriend, she didn't even have a close male friend. But now, she was going to do this kind of thing. After Jiang Xiu left the room, Wang Xintong's eyes became very complicated. She went to the bar to pour a few glasses of red wine and poured it down. The alcohol went to her head, and slowly, a kind of dry state came out. She came to the bedside and turned off all the lights. Only the faint moonlight shone in through the window. She bit her plump red lips, took off the beautiful red evening gown, and slipped into the snow-white sheets. She was lying on the bed obediently. Her long black hair was scattered on the snow-white pillow. Her skin was snow-white, and her beautiful brows were slightly furrowed. Her long black eyelashes were trembling slightly due to her nervousness. She felt like she was a concubine waiting for the emperor's arrival. Waiting and tormenting. She felt very wronged and wanted to cry, but she was also very afraid. She stubbornly turned her beautiful big eyes, and did not let the tears flow out. When she heard footsteps coming from the direction of the washroom, she saw a devil-like shadow. She was so nervous that her heart started to beat wildly. He's here. Wang Xintong was extremely nervous and ashamed. She forcefully closed her eyes. Jiang Xiu came out of the shower, and saw that all the lights outside were turned off. Then he saw a person lying on the bed. Moreover, half of the bed was left open for him. He walked over and saw Wang Xintong's nervous and shy appearance. She was also trying her best to close her eyes. He lifted the blanket and lay down. He said, What are you doing? Seducing this sovereign? When Wang Xintong heard this, her originally red face became even redder. She stuttered. No, right, she didn't even know what she said. Jiang Xiu said, Do you think this sovereign is so easy to seduce? Do you think you can seduce this sovereign just because you want to? He glanced at the clothes on the floor. He could imagine what kind of moving scenery was under the sheets. Moreover, you plan to seduce this sovereign like this? Like a dead fish? Wang Xintong was extremely embarrassed. She bit her red dust and pressed herself against Jiang Xiu. However, Jiang Xiu was a bit uncomfortable. He said, This sovereign is a clean freak. I won't touch just any woman. Wang Xintong was stunned. At this moment, she didn't know whether she should be happy or sad. If Mr. Jiang didn't touch her, she could keep her innocence. However, she definitely couldn't be happy about being disliked by someone. Go down and dance for this sovereign. Wang Xintong had been dancing since she was young. However, she had never danced like this before. This feeling was even more embarrassing than before. What? You don't want to? Then get out of this sovereign's room. Spending the night in Mr. Jiang's room and being kicked out by Mr. Jiang were worlds apart. Wang Xintong hurriedly said, Don't, Mr. Jiang. Don't kick me out. The night was enchanting, and the shadows were enchanting. Although there was no sound, the bright moon shone through the window, reflecting her graceful figure on the wall. The silence was better than the sound, and it was even more captivating. The next morning, Jiang Xiu slowly woke up. The young girl who was like a blooming rose in the night wind was sitting by the bed. Perhaps she really couldn't take it anymore as her charming face was pressed against the edge of the bed. She was actually sleeping very soundly. Her charming face was covered with a layer of red. Perhaps she was awakened by Jiang Xiu's movements. She hurriedly opened her eyes. Her hair was a bit messy and her eyes were still a bit hazy. She respectfully said, Good morning, Mr. Jiang. Seeing that the sky was bright outside, she was delighted. She had gotten her wish to stay in Mr. Jiang's room for the night. Your dancing skills are rusty. There's still room for improvement. In the immortal martial continent, Jiang Xiu had seen dances that were hundreds and thousands of times more exciting than this. However, a person's state of mind changed with the environment. The feeling of drinking water in the desert was definitely different from drinking water in a resort. Here, to be able to enjoy this kind of dance, especially one that was full of shyness from a noble family's daughter, even if it was rusty, it was still a kind of beautiful enjoyment. I'll work hard. Wang Xintong's voice was as soft as a mosquito's buzz. Her heart was extremely shy. Did Mr. Zhang's words mean that he would ask her to dance that kind of dance again? This was the first time Jiang Xiu had spent a long night in the same room with a beautiful woman since he came back. A trace of bitterness flashed through his eyes. He had spent 3,000 years forgetting a person, but in less than 3 seconds, he remembered that person again. Some people said that losing something and then regaining it was the most precious, but losing it again was the most painful. The fog by the river was thick. The villa was surrounded by a hazy milky white color. Jiang Xiu asked, "How old are you?" Wang Xintong said, "Just 20. Same age as her." The her that Jiang Xiu was talking about was naturally that girl. At this time, Cheng Lingran was just 20 years old. She should be in her 3rd year of university in September. "Are you still in university? Where did you study?" Wang Xintong said, "At Columbia. I've already graduated. I studied MBA. After a pause she added, "Doctor's degree." Jiang Xiu was slightly surprised. When he met this arrogant and cold girl, he didn't expect her to be a rare business genius. It probably had something to do with Wang Xuetang's training. Interesting. Wait a moment. The big shots in Hangzhou will probably come to see you. Come out and receive them for me. Wang Xintong was very surprised. Me? She couldn't believe it. She knew what it meant. She would become Mr. Zhang's spokesperson. She thought that such a good thing would fall on the Tang family, but she didn't expect that it would fall on her. Yes. After receiving Jiang Xiu's affirmative answer, Wang Xintong's pretty face blushed again. This time, it wasn't because she was shy, but because she was excited. Her eyes were shining with excitement. "Thank you, Mr. Jiang. I won't let you down." Jiang Xiu nodded and said seriously, "The most important thing is to practice dancing well." Wang Xintong. At this moment, the villa's doorbell rang. Tang Jinshan and the others had arrived. When they saw Wang Xintong accompanying Jiang Xiu to enjoy breakfast in the villa's open space, their hearts were as clear as a mirror. Wang Xintong had been waiting for this moment. However, when she was really seen by others, she felt extremely ashamed, especially when she saw her father's ambiguous gaze. She wanted to find a place to hide. "Mr. Jiang, this is my proposal. It's also the first project I plan to do. Since the Wang family doesn't have any foundation in real estate, to be on the safe side, I plan to contract with the Cheng clan in Jiangcheng." Jiang Xiu waved his hand. "In the future, if you want to report something to me, ask her first. She will choose and then tell me." "Wait. Who did you say you want to cooperate with?" Wang Xuetang said, "The Cheng clan real estate in Jiangcheng. I wonder if Mr. Jiang has heard of it." Chapter 95. The rise of the Cheng family destroyed Jiang Xiu's father's career and brought great pain to Jiang Xiu, his mother, and his family. Jiang Xiu's hatred for the Cheng family came from the bottom of his heart, and his love for Cheng Lingran was equally deep. His feelings for the Cheng family were extremely complicated, and he unconsciously revealed them. Jiang Xiu's eyes gradually turned cold. "Do you want me to rely on others to get rich, or do you want me to rely on the Cheng family?" This plan was set before Jiang Xiu took over the Wang family. Because of the conservative nature of the family, Wang Xuetang used the method of cooperating with the Cheng clan to share the risk, and got the approval of the elders of the family. Since the contract was signed, he wanted to continue and show some results to Jiang Xiu as soon as possible. He didn't expect that he would anger Jiang Xiu. Wang Xuetang's face turned pale. "Mr. Jiang, I'll change right away. I'll never do such a stupid thing again." Everyone present was smart. The speaker didn't mean it, but the listener took it seriously. There was nothing wrong with the first half of Mr. Zhang's sentence. With Mr. Zhang's ability and wealth, there was nothing he couldn't do. There was no need for him to rely on others. However, the second half of his sentence was thought-provoking. It was the Chung family. Mr. Jiang seemed to have a prejudice against the Chung family. Jiang Xiu said, "Do you know what to do?" Wang Xuetong's forehead was covered in cold sweat. Yes. Jiang Xiu didn't like to cooperate with others. This was because he lacked trust in others. This was related to his experience. Although he had made many friends, there was no doubt that he was a very slow person to warm up to others. This kind of person was resistant to cooperating with others. If it were others, he wouldn't like it, let alone the Chung family. "Is there anything else?" Tang Jinshan said, "Mr. Jiang, several big shots from Hangzhou have come to visit you." Jiang Xiu pointed at Wang Xintong and said, "Meet her. Tell her what you want to say." Jiang Xiu's ambition was not here, nor was he in the mood to entertain these people. Last night, his cultivation had already been delayed by Wang Xintong, and now he was a little impatient. All right. After these people left, Jiang Xiu could finally cultivate in peace. He took out the inner core. The inner core had already been refined by him, and its radiance was completely restrained. He tossed it lightly, and it floated in front of him, emitting its radiance once again. They were different from the deity behind the heavenly Taoism and Li Mi. They were spiritual bodies. In other words, they were spiritual energy that could be directly devoured. Inner cores, on the other hand, had to be slowly absorbed. Yes, a 1,000-year core. After absorbing it for a while, he realized that the inner core was at the level of 1,000 years. However, the energy within the inner core wasn't too pure. This river-swallowing toad's cultivation was very rash, which caused the inner core's quality to be greatly reduced. Bop bop bop. The Protoss bloodline in his body throbbed, showing signs of awakening once again. Jiang Xiu took advantage of the victory and attacked, absorbing the inner core's energy even more fiercely. The soft light flowing out of the inner core fiercely hit Jiang Xiu's body, and was completely absorbed into his body. Boom. His entire body shook, as if his entire body had exploded. A wave of energy spread out in all directions, and the god power in Jiang Xiu's body rose sharply once again. The sixth divine pattern appeared on his arm. 6 awaken profound. Raising his arm to look, the 6 divine patterns faintly appeared, a bit like words. If he had the Protoss's divine pattern chart in his hands, he would be able to compare it one by one, and he would be able to know what kind of god body he had in advance. He continued to sit cross-legged and cultivate, without any intention of stopping. Boom. Boom. Jiang Xiu was like a hot knife through butter. The Protoss bloodline kept awakening in his body like crazy. On that day, he consecutively awakened 4 more divine patterns, reaching a total of 11 divine patterns. He only stopped when his body showed obvious fatigue, and it was difficult to absorb the energy of the inner core. This pattern is a bit like words. The 11 divine patterns were connected together, and he finally saw some clues. They were very much like ancient words. Not bad. As far as he knew, the words and divine patterns were all very powerful Protoss. These words were originally the most profound and mysterious things, and it was even more incredible that they could become divine patterns. The 8 Protoss, Shadow Emperor Protoss, False Immortal Protoss. These people's god bodies all had mysterious divine patterns, and they all had unfathomable abilities, which made Jiang Xiu very envious. As for the specific race, at the very least, he would have to wait until the first word was awakened, and he became a true god before he could determine. If the words were turned into runes, then they would be even stronger. They might even be able to give birth to a great Dao technique. That would truly be a heaven-defying existence. Thinking of this, Jiang Xiu became increasingly excited. He really wanted to rush back to the immortal martial continent, and use the cultivation environment there to cultivate to the mature form in one go. Then he would be able to take a look at the full appearance of his Protoss divine patterns. After awakening several divine patterns in one go, Jiang Xiu no longer rushed. He chose to purify the divine power in his body to avoid the situation of a drop in cultivation level. Ding ling ling, a call came in. Jiang Xiu glanced at it. It was actually his mother, Lin Yueling. He couldn't not pick it up. Hello, son. Did you have a conflict with Su again when you went out to play? No, what's the matter? Jiang Xiu wasn't sure if Cheng Lingsu had told Lin Yueling about him or not. Then why did Su come back without a word? It seemed like she didn't say anything. According to Cheng Lingsu's personality, she definitely wouldn't brag about how powerful Jiang Xiu was. Jiang Xiu said, "Then I'm not sure." Stinking brat, Su is your fiancé. How can you not know anything about it? Lin Yueling felt a headache coming on. When her husband was young, he was very good at coaxing girls. She was already dizzy from his lies. How could her son be like a block of wood? Hee. If she didn't mention this matter, Jiang Xiu would have almost forgotten that she was his fiancée. She will be your wife in the future. Lin Yueling was very dissatisfied with Jiang Xiu's ambiguity. She used words to remind him, hoping that this silly son of hers would wake up and understand his relationship with Cheng Lingsu. Wife. His wife in his previous life wasn't Cheng Lingsu, but Cheng Lingran, who gave herself to the Cheng family to make up for the harm Jiang Xiu had done to him by the Cheng Lingran. Thinking of this, Jiang Xiu felt a bone-piercing pain. A woman used her love to make up for the tragic fate of a man she didn't love. This was a tragedy in itself. It was just that she had walked from one tragic world into another. Pain and suffering tormented each other. Hey, why aren't you talking? Okay, Mom won't scold you anymore. Su won't go out to play. You should come back quickly and go to the Cheng family to see Su. Jiang Xiu was stunned. You want me to see her? Lin Yueling suddenly raised her voice. What's with your attitude? I want you to go, so you go. You silly son, come back immediately and go to see Su. If she knows that you didn't go, you'll be in trouble. Jiang Xiu wanted to cry but had no tears. After more than 3,000 years of being the best in the world, it was really difficult for him to get used to his mother's reprimanding tone when she suddenly came back to discipline him. Must I? Spiritual Cultivation's tone was pleading. He had nothing to say to Cheng Lingsu at all. It was better not to see her. I'm not negotiating with you. This is Mom's order. Lin Yueling's tone was very firm. She had to let her son understand her attitude toward this matter. Jiang Xiu had to marry Cheng Lingsu. Mom, actually. Beep, beep, beep. Lin Yueling hung up the phone directly. She didn't give Jiang Xiu a chance to explain. Jiang Xiu didn't expect his mother's resentment to be so deep. It was no wonder. The family was torn apart. If one were to talk about bitterness in these years, the one who suffered the most was his mother. Lin Yueling hated it, but how could Jiang Xiu not hate it? He also wanted to destroy Cheng Lingsu. He wanted to completely destroy this woman who ruined him in his previous life. However, he couldn't bear to see Cheng Lingran suffer. If anyone in the Cheng family was hurt, Cheng Lingran wouldn't be able to bear it. Speaking of which, Cheng Lingran should also be on vacation. If she didn't go out to play, she should be back in Jiang City. Prepare a car for me. I want to go back to Jiang City. Jiang Xiu called Wang Xintong. Okay. Wang Xintong quickly arranged a car and a driver for him. It was only a 2-hour drive back to Jiang City. When he arrived, Cheng Lingran was indeed back. She was the one who opened the door for Jiang Xiu. She tied her hair with a pink hairband and wore a refreshing summer dress. She didn't hesitate to show off her good figure. Her eyes were filled with warmth and friendliness that made Jiang Xiu drunk. Sister, Cheng Lingran said happily. The minor repairs are here. Come in quickly. Chapter 96. Jiang Xiu avoided Cheng Lingran's eyes and followed her into the Cheng family. Cheng Lingran looked at him sideways with a smile on her pretty face. Minor repairs. You really surprised me. You are the top scorer of this year's college entrance examination in Jiangnan. Jiang Xiu said. It's just luck. Our spiritual cultivation is too modest. It's not luck. It's completely based on strength. If he took the exam again, he would still be the top scorer. Haha, minor repairs. You seem to have changed a lot. I remember that you weren't like this when you were a child. You were quite naughty and active. Why are you so calm now? Cheng Lingran's memories of Jiang Xiu should be from when they were very young, before the Jiang family's accident. At that time, they were all young and played together all year long. Cheng Lingran was 2 years older than Jiang Xiu and Cheng Lingsu. Naturally, she had to control them. However, Jiang Xiu was very disobedient. Jiang Xiu was very competitive at that time. People will always grow up. Cheng Lingran led Jiang Xiu into the house. Then she squatted down and pressed her collar with her left hand to prevent herself from being exposed. She took out a pair of slippers with her right hand and said to Jiang Xiu, "Su is upstairs." She locked herself up. "I heard from my mom that you went out to play together. Did you have a fight?" Jiang Xiu shook his head. "Is the minor repairs coming?" A calm voice came from the living room. Jiang Xiu didn't answer. Jiang Xiu didn't have any good impression of the person who caused his father to go to jail, and who might even cause the car accident in the future. "Yes, the minor repairs coming," Cheng Lingran responded. "How rude." Sun Xiaohong's harsh voice came. She was sitting beside Cheng Hanlin. She was very unhappy that Cheng Hanlin had called this brat to his house. Cheng Hanlin was in his 40s. He looked very refined and gave people a feeling of wisdom. There was a smile on his face that was neither light nor shallow. When Cheng Hanlin saw Jiang Xiu, he was slightly surprised. It had been 3 years since they last met. The last time he saw Jiang Xiu was when Jiang Yi begged him to let Jiang Xiu enter Jiangqing Second High School. At that time, Jiang Xiu was a yes man, but now his face was resolute and his eyes were deep. He revealed incomparable confidence and an indescribable mysterious temperament. It was just that his clothes were too shabby. "I've grown up." He also didn't mention that Jiang Xiu was the top scorer. At that time, he didn't think highly of Jiang Xiu. However, once again, it proved that his old friend's genes weren't bad. After Jiang Xiu came in, he found that there was another person in the house. It was a refined and handsome young man. What Jiang Xiu didn't expect was that Cheng Lingran walked to his side and sat down beside him. "Minor repairs. Let me introduce you. This is my friend, Li Junfei." "Friend? Why would an ordinary friend come to visit and sit so close to Cheng Lingran?" Needless to say, he should be Cheng Lingran's boyfriend. Before Jiang Xiu's parents passed away and Cheng Lingran once again entered Jiang Xiu's life, Jiang Xiu was already very unfamiliar with Cheng Lingran. He didn't know what she had experienced before. However, it was rare for a girl to not have a boyfriend at the age of 20. Moreover, a beauty like Cheng Lingran naturally had many suitors. At this moment, Jiang Xiu felt a surge of jealousy rushing to his head. However, he calmed down in an instant. They had agreed to let each other go. Wasn't it what he wanted to see, to let Cheng Lingran be with someone she truly loved and live happily for the rest of her life? Junfei, he's from the capital. His family's assets exceed 10 billion. Sun Xiaohong's expression was very excited. When she said 10 billion, her voice rose a few octaves. In 2008, what kind of concept was a billionaire? His family wasn't just rich. It was impossible for him to do business alone. He had to have connections with the government. This Li Junfei was no small matter. Li Junfei said, "So you're Jiang Xiu? Auntie was just talking about you." From the contempt that flashed through his eyes, it could be seen that Sun Xiaohong had definitely said a lot of bad things about him. She had probably already revealed everything about his fruit stall. The two of them were both candidates for the Cheng family's future son-in-law. One was a young master from the capital, the heir to a fortune of 10 billion, and the other was a fruit stall owner. No matter how Sun Xiaohong thought about it, she felt sullen for her younger daughter. Jiang Xiu said, "Hello." Spiritual cultivation maintained his poise. Cheng Hanlin said, "Minor repairs. Did you and Su have a quarrel? That little girl is very depressed after she came back. She hasn't eaten anything all day and even locked herself in her room. What happened?" Jiang Xiu said, "I don't know." Cheng Hanlin said, "Go up and call her down. How can she not eat?" Jiang Xiu frowned. However, for Cheng Lingran's sake, he endured it. Cheng Lingran keenly sensed the conflict in Jiang Xiu's heart. She said, "Minor repairs. I'll go up with you." As she spoke, she ran over and pulled Jiang Xiu up. Then they went upstairs. "Sis, how long have you been dating that guy?" Cheng Lingran said, "Not long. Dad introduced him. He wanted us to be friends first, sis." Jiang Xiu looked straight into Cheng Lingren's eyes and said, "Find someone you really like. No matter how big the resistance is, I can help you solve it. The most important thing is that you can be happy." When he said this, his heart ached faintly. However, he was sincere. Buddha said that there were 8 hardships in life: birth, old age, illness, and death. Separation from love. Resentment. Longing for something. Unable to let go. Cheng Lingran smiled and said, "Okay. In the future, I'll count on minor repairs to protect me." She reached out and knocked on the door. She raised her voice and said, "Su, open the door. Don't throw a tantrum. Come out and eat. If you don't come out, Dad and Mom will deduct your pocket money." Cheng Lingsu was in the room. She was holding a huge teddy bear in her arms. Her eyes were unfocused. She replied casually, "Don't worry about me. Let me be alone." Cheng Lingran said, "Don't throw a tantrum. Minor repairs are here. Hurry up and come out." Cheng Lingsu's expression changed. She quickly got off the bed and ran to open the door. When the door opened, she really saw Jiang Xiu. Her pretty face was a little pale. She didn't know why Jiang Xiu was here. Minor repairs are still useful. Cheng Lingsu looked at the indifferent Jiang Xiu and asked, Why are you here?" Her voice was a little nervous. "Okay, let's go downstairs first." Seeing second Miss Cheng come downstairs, Cheng Hanlin smiled. He was very tolerant of his daughters, whether it was the eldest or the youngest. Sun Xiaohong frowned. She didn't come out no matter how she called, but Jiang Xiu came out as soon as he came. "Let's eat first. We're all waiting for you." At the dining table, Sun Xiaohong felt more and more uncomfortable as she ate. How could her youngest daughter be controlled by Jiang Xiu? She couldn't let it go on like this. She said, "You don't know yet, right? The Cheng clan and Wang family's joint project is about to start. When this project is over, the Cheng family will be the richest family in Jiang City." Li Junfei said, "Wang family? Is it the Wang family from Jiangnan province?" Sun Xiaohong said with a burning gaze, "Yes." Li Junfei said, "I've heard of this Wang family in the capital. They have 200 years of history. Although they aren't on the rich list, in fact, the Wang family's financial resources might be stronger than mine. If the Cheng clan cooperates with the Wang family, they will definitely be able to make a big impact and reach a higher level." Cheng Hanlin's face also revealed a smile. This was really unexpected. He actually met the Wang family's business manager, Wang Xuetong, on the plane and even successfully negotiated the project. The project has just been finalized. There are still many areas to follow up on. We'll be busy in the future. Although he was complaining, he was not without pride. Sun Xiaohong said, "If some people have self-awareness, they should know what to do. The Cheng family relied on ourselves and not others to achieve what we have today." The richest family in the city was indeed amazing. Jiang Xiu's expression didn't change. Cheng Lingsu secretly glanced at him and frowned. She knew that the Wang family had already crawled under Jiang Xiu's feet. The entire Wang family's assets were owned by Jiang Xiu. Ring ring ring. Cheng Hanlin's phone rang. The smile on his face froze in the next moment. "What?" "The Wang family broke the contract and cancelled the project with us." After hanging up the phone, Cheng Hanlin was about to call Wang Xuetong when his phone rang again. "The Egret Courtyard project has been stopped. The Central Pavilion project has been stopped. The new house has not passed the inspection." Bad karma came one after another. Cheng Hanlin was still calm at first, but in the end, his face was completely pale. Cold sweat slid down his forehead, and he looked like he had lost his soul. It's over, it's all over. How could this be? The Cheng family is going to lose a lot of money. Cheng Lingsu looked at Jiang Xiu. She knew that Jiang Xiu must have made a move. In Jiangcheng, only Jiang Xiu had such power. Jiang Xiu was also at a loss. Chapter 97. Jiang Xiu only asked the Wang family to stop cooperating with the Cheng clan, so that the Cheng family's dream of being the richest family in Jiang City would be shattered. As for the other problems, he really didn't know about them. It might be a coincidence that there was a problem with one project, But if there were problems one after another, then there must be someone behind it. Now the Chung family was in a mess. Sun Xiaohong's face turned pale, and she was extremely nervous. Hanlin, what's going on? How did this happen? Isn't the company running very well and healthy? How did this happen? She was completely flustered and couldn't calm down at all. If the Chung family was finished, then she would become a pauper with nothing. Cheng Hanlin said. I don't know either. He was also stunned. But he was sure that someone was targeting the Chung clan. Who was it? Who was so powerful? The person who could make all the projects of the Chung clan either fail or stop in one day was definitely a big shot. He didn't remember offending such a person. Come out with me for a while. Cheng Lingsu's voice was not loud, but she made sure that Jiang Xiu could hear her. After that, she got up and walked into the yard. It's so hot. Why did you ask me to come out? Cheng Lingsu looked straight at Jiang Xiu. Since she came back from Hangzhou, her mind was full of this man. It was full of his majesty as if he was a king descending to the world. Did you do it? Jiang Xiu shook his head. Cheng Lingsu said with a determined face, don't deny it. In Jiang City, who else has so much power to make my family fall into such a predicament except for you? I knew you weren't a magnanimous person. Jiang Xiu never thought of himself as a good person, nor was he a magnanimous person. He got the position of the suzerain of Tianqing School by stepping on other people's corpses. The title of spiritual cultivation was accumulated with the blood of countless powerhouses. Mercy and magnanimity were not words in his dictionary at all. What? You have nothing to say? Cheng Lingsu said. Jiang Xiu, our families have been friends for generations. How could you do this? Family friend? If your Chung family knew the meaning of these two words, you wouldn't have thought of breaking off the engagement with me. You wouldn't have wanted to draw a clear line between you and my Jiang family, and the tragedy of my previous life wouldn't have happened. Jiang Xiu said. So what if I did it, and so what if I didn't? Cheng Lingsu said. If you're the one who did it, then stop immediately. The Chung clan is my parents' blood, sweat and tears. They have put in countless efforts for this. Jiang Xiu sneered. Stop? Don't you know who I, Jiang Xiu, am? He stepped on the bloody corpses of the Wang family, and stepped on half of Jiangnan. After saying this, Jiang Xiu turned around and left. Cheng Lingsu pursed her red lips and said to his back, What's so great about you? You have an eccentric personality and consider everyone beneath you. Don't think that you're doing well now. You'll suffer the consequences of your actions one day. At that time, you'll be abandoned by everyone and have nothing. There won't be anyone who will pity you. Do you want to be like those bad guys on TV who sleep under a bridge when they're old? Cheng Lingsu became more and more emotional as she spoke. In the end, her eyes were filled with tears and her voice was hoarse. However, Jiang Xiu's footsteps didn't slow down in the slightest. She shouted in despair. I promise you. Jiang Xiu stopped and asked, What do you promise me? Only then did she notice that Cheng Lingsu was already crying. She said, I agree to marry you. When she said those words, her heart was about to break down. Let go of the Chung clan. Ha ha ha. Jiang Xiu seemed to have heard the funniest joke in the world. He laughed so hard that he couldn't straighten his back and tears came out of his eyes. Isn't this what you want? Cheng Lingsu couldn't figure out why he was laughing. Complacency didn't seem to be the right way to laugh. It should be a laugh towards the sky with a satisfied expression on his face. Cheng Lingsu, you overestimate yourself. Do you think that I'm dealing with the Chung clan just to get you? Isn't that the case? Cheng Lingsu knew that Jiang Xiu liked her very much since they were young. He almost listened to everything she said. However, her indifference to him might have hurt his heart. Now he wanted to take revenge. Humph, Cheng Lingsu said. If you're dissatisfied, come at me. Don't do anything to my family. My parents and my sister are innocent. If the Chung clan really went bankrupt, what would Chung Lingren's fate be? Would she be able to accept his care for her? According to Jiang Xiu's understanding of her, she definitely wouldn't. In his previous life, Chung Lingran had lived such a hard life with him. She never accepted anyone's kindness. Now Jiang Xiu was just an ordinary person to her. She definitely wouldn't accept his kindness. What gave Jiang Xiu the biggest headache was if Cheng Lingsu told Cheng Lingran that he was the one who dealt with the Cheng clan. At that time, what would Cheng Lingran's attitude towards him? Would she hate him? I'm not the one who did it. Jiang Xiu was also puzzled as to who was the one who dealt with the Cheng clan. You're not. Cheng Lingsu didn't quite believe him. In Jiangcheng, who else has such great power other than you? Jiang Xiu said. I only asked the Wang family to stop cooperating with your family. Spiritual cultivation was never willing to explain things to others. However, there was one person who was an exception, and that was Cheng Lingran. He didn't want Cheng Lingran to misunderstand him. Then why are there so many accidents happening in my family? Jiang Xiu shook his head. Then I don't know. Maybe your father offended someone in his business. The real estate industry nowadays is very profitable. Since the Cheng clan is doing well, it's inevitable that some people would be jealous. Then can you lend a hand? Jiang Xiu said in astonishment. You want me to help the Cheng clan? This was simply ridiculous. You're not willing? Cheng Lingsu said. You're already a suspect in this matter. This is the only way for you to clear your name. You don't want us to put the blame on you when the time comes, right? Jiang Xiu's face turned cold. You dare to threaten me? It's not a threat. Moreover, do you care about the Cheng clan? She knew that Jiang Xiu didn't have any feelings for the Cheng clan. In fact, he even hated them. He blamed the Cheng clan for Uncle Zhang's imprisonment. If he still cared about the Cheng clan, then the only reason would be her. The young girl looked at Jiang Xiu's eyes. She longed to find the fanaticism in his eyes that he used to have for her. However, that fanaticism was no longer there. Instead, there was only pain in his eyes. He turned around angrily. I won't help you. The young girl gritted her teeth and said, If you don't help me, I'll go find Yi Wenchen. His father is now the deputy mayor, and is in charge of the city's construction. He can easily solve this problem. Jiang Xiu said, You can go find whoever you want. It has nothing to do with me. He pushed the door open and went back into the house. On the sofa, Cheng Lingran was comforting Sun Xiaohong, who was in a daze. Sun Xiaohong's face was full of confusion, as if a nightmare was about to come. Cheng Lingran was also worried. She held her mother's hand tightly and said, It's okay. It's okay. Don't worry. Dad has been doing business for so long. He can handle it. The Cheng clan's accounts and debts are very healthy. There won't be any problems. Jiang Xiu still remembered that Cheng Lingsu seemed to have studied an MBA as well. She knew a lot about business. Sister, I still have something to do. I'll leave first. Since the Cheng clan was in trouble, it was not suitable for Jiang Xiu to stay any longer. Okay, you can go back first. Cheng Lingran gave Jiang Xiu a look and then said softly, Sister, I won't see you out. It's all his fault. He's just an unlucky guy. Nothing good ever happens when he enters our house. Sun Xiaohong didn't wait for Jiang Xiu to go far before she scolded him fiercely. She put all the blame on him. At this time, Cheng Lingsu just came in from outside. She was really worried that Jiang Xiu would hear it. She said, Mom, what does this have to do with him? Also, don't speak ill of him in the future, and don't scold him in front of him. He's not someone to be trifled with. She didn't plan to say anything about Jiang Xiu, but she also couldn't let her mother slander Jiang Xiu again and again. Who was he? He was Mr. Jiang, who had half of Jiangnan under his feet. Jiang Xiu had been tolerating her mother. Cheng Lingsu thought that it was because of her face, or because of the marriage. But everyone had a bottom line. If they really angered Jiang Xiu, Cheng Lingsu had seen how he dealt with the Wang family. He was really merciless to his enemies. He's not someone to be trifled with. Sun Xiaohong said. Could it be that he dares to rebel? Cheng Lingsu didn't want to argue with her mother. She said, I won't talk to you anymore. I'm going to call Yi Wenchen and see if Deputy Mayor Yi can help. Sun Xiaohong's eyes lit up when she heard that. She said, Yes, yes, yes. Deputy Mayor Yi is now in charge of real estate. As long as he comes out, he can definitely solve the problem. You're tuning in to the Earbook Haven YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.